Hello everyone, welcome back to Beyond the Veil Tarot and Astrology. My name is Candace Marie, thanks for joining me. Happy Friday. Today is August 1st, 2025, first day of the month, and we're here doing live tarot readings on the channel. If you can see me, give me a thumbs up and say hello in the chat. We do these readings live on Fridays. Every other Friday we alternate between tarot and astrology. It is a Tarot Friday. And if you guys are watching this on Saturday or Sunday, I am no longer live, so please don't send payment, otherwise you'll be reimbursed, and I'll catch you guys back here next week for astrology. Happy to be back, excited to be here with you guys, and if this is your first time and you'd like to get a reading, scan the QR code right up there. That's going to take you to my PayPal. We're doing 1 card spreads for $20, 3 card spreads for $40. And if you guys want, we also take super chat in the chat if you'd like to get in the queue and get a reading. Just some new stuff about the channel. So we've got August horoscopes out. We also have some new content that we're going to be kind of putting out throughout the month of August. So definitely subscribe to the channel so that way you guys can see the content as it's coming out. We do videos every Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, and Sunday. Sundays, you're going to get my weekly astro weather. We also just recently did a August overview, and there's lots of stuff going on over the next week, so you definitely want to be subscribed. For those of you guys who are looking for my latest offerings, I've got things like digital astrology calendars that you can put right into your computer or your Apple iPhone or your Google Calendar, and we have those for sale on my website. Head over to beyondtheveiltarot.com, links in the description. You can also book an appointment with me, one-on-one session if you'd like. I also teach tarot as well as astrology, so sign up for my newsletter and definitely check out my courses and my offerings while you're there. Now, we also have made some changes. We keep telling people this, but I'm going to keep letting you guys know. The memberships on the channel have changed. So if you guys are a member, definitely check and see where your standings are. We actually added an extra level, so now we have 4 levels of membership. Level 1, you're going to get to support me. Level 2, you're going to be getting a shout out and you support me. Level 3, you're going to be a part of my latest VIP private daily horoscope club, where you're going to get horoscopes for the 12 rising signs every day. And then level 4, you are now bumped up. You are going to be getting a reading from me once a month. You can choose one Friday, either tarot or astrology, 1 reading a month. So if you guys want to join my memberships, it's a great way to kind of stay in tune with me. You also skip the line. You're VIP. You don't have to wait for the other readings when we do the lives. And if you guys want to join, definitely check that out. And a big thank you to all of you guys who continue to support my work. Now, since it's the beginning of the month, we're going to do the shout outs. And I just want to say thank you to everybody who is a level, obviously 2, 3, or 4. You guys get shout outs for me. So people like Kathy, Ari, Contessa of the Divine, Maria, Lauren, Janie Doe, Rosie. We've got Bio Lovey, Katie, Ashley Johnson. We've got Janet. Who else is here? Jess, Shay, Smoky Brown Eyes, Claire, Laverne. Who else is here? Darlene, Erica, Glow Up Together, Miss Taliba, and Susan Wexler. So thank you guys so much for being members. I really appreciate you. You make it possible for me to keep doing what I am doing. All right, so we're going to jump right into the readings unless Rosie pops in. She's a level 3 member. If I hear from her, I'll get her in. But I've got a whole list of people in my queue right now, and I'm going to be taking the readings in the order that we get them. I did see Matt Powers pop in. I saw your pending payment on PayPal. So Matt, we also take, if you want to send super chat, you can send super chat for either $20 or $40 through there. So it looks like you may have already figured it out and you popped in. So I see that. I'll take care of you. Thank you very much. What's up, Rosie? Let me know if you want to get your reading for the month. Otherwise, the other people that I have in the queue, and you'll hear me calling out the names in the order that I receive them. So I'll kind of shout out a couple names at a time just to let you guys know that I'm ready for you. And let me add a couple people here. Dorothy got in there. Zach got in there. All right, cool. So I've got N, Lula, Camille, Corey, Frankie, Matt, Briana, Sharon, Samantha, Dorothy, and Zach. So if you guys hear your name, that means I've got you, and I'm excited to do your readings. We'll leave the QR code up for a bit, so we'll leave the queue open. We'll let you know when we're getting ready to shut things down. So when we're kind of wrapping up readings, you'll hear us call final call. At that point in time, we're gonna have a cutoff for the readings, and hopefully we'll catch you guys next week. All right, so let's get started. We're gonna start first with N, and then we've got Lula and Camille. You guys are all on deck. So let's start at the beginning of my list for Miss N. Thank you for your generosity, Miss N. You sent a little extra, so I'll give you an extra card or so. And she says, I want to know when I will get into law school and if it will be fall 2025. I'm on 3 wait lists. All right, so let's take a look. So this is for you, and first let's take a look at, getting into law school and then what it looks like for your wait list. Looks like you're trying to get in for this fall, so that's coming up here pretty quickly. Hey, CZ, I've got your question. All right, so in this order, this is what I get for you. All right, so specifically with these cards, you can't quite see them, but this is a maybe, this is a maybe, this is a yes. So it kind of makes me feel like it's gonna keep you waiting here for at least like another 4 weeks. So that's gonna be taking you to later in August. First card that you get is the 4 of Swords, which basically means you've been kind of having to hang around and wait, like you feel like you can't really make any moves. There's nothing that you can do right now other than just kind of hang back and wait until you get a response. This is a card that's about rest and recuperation and like not feeling like you need to push things forward on your own. This can also mean that there's been a little bit of stress or maybe some like lost sleep over wondering if you're actually going to get in, but this is in the previous position. It also can mean like it's important not to beat yourself up over, having to apply to more than one place, or maybe that it's like taken so long to kind of get clarity on the education matter. And specifically when this card comes up, it can be about like contemplation. So now that you've applied for like the 3 different wait lists, you can be in a situation where you're really thinking about which one you're really hoping that you get into. And also this is about solitude. So it's about finding peace while you're waiting for your answer. Now, the Wheel of Fortune is a pretty positive card. Part of the reason why is this is a card that deals with travel. It deals with higher education. It also deals with anything regarding good fortune. So for this card to be coming up, even though it's like a maybe, for me, it's saying like there's actually getting ready to be a significant shift. I do feel like this is a card, especially when it comes to career-related matters or education, that there is an opportunity that's getting ready to be presented to you. So likely you're gonna find that around the fixed months, so specifically I think this is gonna be like Leo season, which obviously we're in right now. Sometime over the next 4 weeks in August, you're gonna get an answer, and it may require you to have to travel or relocate. So this is about like picking up and going somewhere or getting outside of like your usual kind of hangout. Now, the final card you get is the Queen of Wands, which is a very positive card, especially if you're a woman, because this means that it's about kind of growing when it comes to intelligence. It's about confidence. It's about being on the move. It can also represent like a female fire sign, so like an Aries, Sag, or a Leo that's kind of in some way, shape, or form influencing what's kind of going on here. This is also about like being confident and really feeling like you can take on whatever task is being presented to you. And this is also a card that deals with will. So wheeling your way into getting your answer. Even though I know you feel like there's not much you can physically do, you definitely, with the Wheel of Fortune and the Queen of Wands, it can be about you going like, I've already got accepted, it's just a matter of where am I going, and thinking in that mindset and kind of being in a situation where you're creating your own reality, right? I think that's the big one. Now, I'm going to give you a final card that's going to be the coverall card to give you some insight in terms of maybe when, but I would say like timing wise, this is a card that's going to be dealing with the fall. This is a card that's going to be dealing with either August or December. So I do feel like you're going to get an answer, and likely you're going to be like in school at the end of the year. The final card that I got for your confirmation is going to be the Knight of Cups, which is a card of offering and whether or not you're going to accept something. I wonder if there's a school that you applied to that's a coastal school, because this is dealing with the element of water. So like East Coast, West Coast is something I'd really pay attention to. This can also mean that this is about you going in the direction of where you feel like you're going to be the best fit, like emotionally or intuitively, where you're feeling like it's going to be best for you. It is possible with like the Wheel of Fortune that can mean that there's more than one option or outcome. So if you're on a wait list for several schools, I'm wondering if you're going to have your choice of one or the other, or one is potentially going to be kind of more interested in supporting you, or there's going to be more benefits, or maybe there's going to be, you know, an easier kind of like passage to going to one of these schools, or one that's like really wanting to work with you or might kind of benefit you in some way. So listen to what your gut is telling you in terms of which one you're going to choose. I'm pretty confident that sometime in either August or the end of the year, you're going to be in school. Not much you can do other than just focus on that mindset and remind yourself that you've already got it. Good luck in getting to school, and I hope that's a big one for you. Very exciting times. All right, we've got Lula, Camille, and Corey. You guys are all on deck. What deck is this? It is the, let me show you. This is the Tarot for Learning. If you click the links below in the description, you'll see a link that says my Amazon book list. Click that link. It has links to all of the books and all of the decks that I use on the channel, so you guys can use the same stuff I'm using. All right, so we have now got Lula. And thanks, Matt and Dorothy. I got you guys. All right, so Lula's got a three-card question. And let's see what she says. She says, 3 cards, please. What will happen between me and him this month of August? Backstory, I'm casually getting to know my coworker. He's a Virgo sun, and I'm a Taurus rising with a Cancer sun and Cancer moon. Thanks in advance. Well, I would assume, you know, the final kind of moments in August, we're going to see just the last bit of Mars going through Virgo. So for like Taurus risings, it can actually be pretty good when it comes to like dating. So for you, that's pretty good. And obviously they're a Virgo sun. So I don't just think about what's happening in August, where I think a lot of like Virgo risings are kind of coming out of their shell a little bit. But I think more about what's happening in September, okay? Because you're going to have an eclipse in your 5th house, which can be about romance. Obviously, there's also going to be eclipses going on in September in Pisces. So for like Virgo or Virgo risings, it's definitely going to be a big turning point in relationships. So let's see what the cards have to say in terms of this kind of inner office romance, maybe, and getting to know your coworker and maybe where things are heading between the two of you. All right, so in this order, I've got the 8 of Cups, the Sun, and the 6 of Wands. So I'm kind of wondering, like, what's the deal? Was this a situation where you were interested in him and you were like almost gonna give up, or were you thinking about, this is crazy, like, you know, he may not be interested, like I'm just gonna leave this alone? Because in the past, in like a relationship sense, this can mean that there is a sense of, you know, moving on or being detached or not really spending a lot of time or wasting a lot of time getting to know somebody, or feeling like it was like a lost cause. Or maybe you were feeling like you were hoping to make that connection and it just wasn't quite the right time, or maybe you weren't ready or he wasn't receptive. And this is also about like previous relationships, right? So cups can mean like finally getting over or grieving or like letting go of like another relationship, or maybe coming out of a period where you have felt a little bit more kind of reclusive, not really ready to be dating or seeking anybody out. And so you're moving on from that. I like to see that card in the upright position. I like to see that card in the past position, because it means that this is where you're kind of coming from. Now the current position in the center card, this is the star card, the sun card. So this is talking about like fulfillment, joy, happiness, creativity, time in the sun. So in a relationship sense, this can really mean that there is some kind of vitality that's being brought to the dynamic between the two of you guys, having fun together, shining a light, and like just being innocent. I think of like the innocence of like the kid sitting on the horse, riding in the sun. The bright colors can kind of symbolize like illuminating things and seeing things about each other's personality that is really attractive and really kind of brings you guys together in a harmonious way. This can also mean that it goes beyond just kind of getting to know each other in a casual sense. It's like getting out and doing something in the wild. So going and doing something outside, doing something like, you know, in the sun, going to a beach, going and doing something recreationally, maybe going on out to lunch or having a picnic or something. And this is a card that really talks about being in the moment and enjoying the experiences that you're having and like really feeling a lot of fulfillment and connection between the two of you. So this isn't necessarily romantic, but this is getting to know each other in a platonic way and really seeing what they're about. And I think being very attracted to some of the qualities and the characteristics that are kind of coming out, because you could see that they are actually really fun and kind of youthful and spontaneous. And then finally, we have the Six of Wands. So this is a card of victory. This is also, when it comes to relationships, talking about getting recognition or somebody kind of seeking you or having like a warm kind of like reception. You know, being victorious and moving forward and spending time. Physically, actively doing things seems to be the focus here. So I get the impression that it's coming to a point where you guys can only get to know each other so much in a private setting, and now it's about kind of taking it outside of the office space or the professional space and like doing something together. Six of Wands is a card that also talks about being able to feel like, you know, you're making headway in the relationship. So it's like going in the direction of not just hanging out and being friends, but feeling like they're receptive of your energies. They're wanting to make plans with you and they're wanting to kind of get to know you further. Specifically, this is also a card that talks about hard work and perseverance paying off. So if you've been kind of taking your time getting to know each other, then you're going to see that there is going to be some kind of like achievement that you're going to be able to fulfill. I would say this is still going to take about another 6 weeks or so. You're looking at kind of still being in this kind of dynamic until the end of summertime. And there is a possibility of like going away and doing something together, or being invited to an event, or going and doing something over the weekend. Sometimes the Six of Wands talks about actual mobility and getting on the horse and kind of riding it out into the sunset. So I'm wondering if there's some kind of group dynamic or some kind of event that one or the two of you guys would invite the other person to that could actually be a lot of fun and can give you the opportunity to see each other in a different light. Hopefully that's helpful for you, Lula. Looks like you guys are going to have a lot of fun in the sun, so I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your summer together the way it looks like you're going to. And it's nice to see that you guys are both in a place where you're actually ready to move forward in a relationship. All right, so we've got Camille, and then Corey, and then Frankie. And if you guys are just checking in, you want to get a reading, scan the QR code up there. You can get in the queue to get your reading. All right, CZ says, my question is, when are things going to start moving in the right direction for me, career-wise and in love? I feel like I've been in an endless slump. Sag rising, Pisces sun, Scorpio moon. Well, I can imagine being a Sag rising and a Pisces sun, definitely with some of the Mars transits has made it a little bit more challenging or tricky in regards to career. And for Pisces, it's been a little tricky in regards to relationships. So there's a sense of kind of getting it both ways. But let's see what the cards have to say in terms of what's going to be on the up and up, or what needs a little bit more focus maybe when it comes to your love and your career related matters. So is there one thing or the other that is coming up here for CZ? Oh, interesting. Well, Nine of Cups, it doesn't get better than that. You know, just astrologically speaking, you know, I think about how September is really going to be the month to watch. If you have a lot of mutable in your chart, you're going to find that there's going to be a lot of things that are going to be changing. As a, you know, Sagittarius rising, obviously Uranus is in your 7th house, so you're going to see over the next like week or so, Mars, which is going to be in the 3rd house of communication, will trine Pluto in your will trine Uranus in your 7th house. So travel, online dating, connection, you know, meeting people, new people kind of locally can happen, and like lots of social opportunities. So like get out there and socialize is what I would say. With Uranus in your 7th, you never know what's going to happen relationship-wise. And then we get into September, and you're going to have a Pisces eclipse the first half of the month, which will be in your 4th house. As a Pisces sun, it's going to be pretty dynamic, changes for you emotionally and within your home, but these can be positive changes as the North Node is in Pisces. It'll trine Jupiter in your 8th, which is good for money. Then you're also going to see a solar eclipse, the 2nd new moon actually in Virgo, which will be in the 10th house, and that's going to be at the end of the month. Tricky eclipse, 29 degrees, which is marking a new kind of era when it comes to changes with your career. You'll see that kind of unfold over 6 months' time. It will oppose Saturn and Neptune at the bottom of your chart. So it can mean that you're getting out of the past into the future, maybe reevaluating what needs to change at work, reconnecting with people you've worked with in the past. There could also be changes going on within your industry or the company that you're working for. But many Sagittariuses with eclipses and the South Node in the 10th are feeling less focused on work and more focused at home. Truth be told, when you have eclipses or transits that are hitting the angular houses, it makes the wheel of the chart turn. So you're going to find that in September and then again in December, there's some big kind of turning points because we're going to see a lot of mutable energy. But the cards seem to indicate you're going to get what you want. So Nine of Cups is a card that is really about happiness. This is about feeling complete. This is also like a wish fulfillment card. And you may feel like there's a bit of like okay, I get all of this at one point, but something else is waiting. And like that's the energy of the square. So, you know, there's more focus, I think, primarily in August into September on your career. And then you're also going to see some things that are going to be coming up more emotionally. Relationships will improve as long as there's communication. So I would be really focusing on like wish fulfillment, you know, manifestation, making a list of what it is you want. Relationships are going to be all over the place with Uranus in and out of Gemini, but there's definitely some big turning points that are happening at work and obviously the emotional kind of effect that that has on you. And it's possible some of you guys are being asked to get out of your home, back into work, or maybe you're changing something about where you're living as a result of work, or work is changing as a result of family. And that's just the complexity of the opposition that you're going to see between the eclipse in your 10th house in opposition to Saturn and Neptune, which will be closer to your 4th house. But focus on what you do want, not what hasn't been working, right? Hopefully that's helpful for you, CZ. We've got Corey, Frankie, and then we have got Mr. Powers. And let's see what Corey has to say. What's up, Corey? She has a 3-card reading. She says, things feel like they're about to change in a big way, and I'd love some insight into home and career because I'm conflicted on where I live and where I work, and if it's still right for me. With eclipse season coming up, I wonder if either of these areas will be affected. Any advice on navigating the next 3 to 4 months would be appreciated. Thank you for all that you do. Corey, what's up, Corey? Remind me, are you a Pisces rising or an Aries rising? I could have sworn it was one of the two because I know you've got some, I think, Taurus in your 2nd house. But I can't remember your rising sign. Dorothy says, happy Friday, everyone. Pisces rising. All right. So let's take a look. Is there anything in the cards that can give us some insight about changes with home and maybe with work? Because it feels like there's some change coming. Is there change in any particular area for her? In this order. Lots of coins there. Choices, decisions to be made. You know, I think that as like a Pisces rising right now, you really are kind of grappling with a number of things. Probably the biggest is the fact that Uranus is in your 4th house. So there is going to be this feeling that suddenly you want a little bit more freedom or escape from where you're living. You know, you can buy time by rearranging your house, you know, redecorating, getting stuff out, changing rooms, you know, stuff like that. Like that can help. But it's only going to be something that's temporary because inevitably you are going to see next year Uranus is going to go back into your whole sign 4th house. The other thing that I think about is like, yeah, change is coming because eclipses are about to kind of hit. So the fact that you're coming up as the 7 of Pentacles right now makes a lot of sense to me. There's a lot of you taking stock in, what do I have? What do I need? You know, what have I been working on? What has been working? What needs to be let go? And like, am I planting seeds that are actually going to be fulfilling for me in the long term? So smart moves. I think that this is just more about figuring out physically and financially where you're at before you make any like really big changes. I also feel like I would just kind of keep in mind that the eclipses that are going to happen are really, the first one is going to be putting a huge emphasis on you, right, as a Pisces rising. And it's going to trine Jupiter, which sounds like it's going to be probably in your Placidus 4th. It could be in your 5th, but If it is in the 4th house, that is helping you potentially make a move. But it's also about fulfillment, creative projects, and things like that. So it really depends. It's the second eclipse that you're going to see where there will be an eclipse in Virgo, which is going to be about your clients, your spouse, your partners, people you work with, and it's going to oppose Saturn and Neptune. And I feel like that's going to be a lot of you going like, okay, I'm letting other people know what does and does not work for me. You know, when I'm available for work, when I'm not available, what's working for me in a relationship sense, what's not. And even the up and coming new moon that we're going to have, that's going to be in Virgo this month, it's at 0 degrees. So it's going to be in your 7th house, whole sign, square Uranus, which means you're looking at partners going, hey, we need to make a change at home. Or you're letting clients know, hey, I'm actually in the process of being out of the house or moving or things are going on. And that'll be a 6-month cycle that you're going to be kind of setting up to make some of that change, right? Obviously, the center card is the Lovers. So this is options, choices, and decisions. And obviously with this card, you know, it does kind of talk about kind of like weighing things out and asking yourself like, okay, what direction do I want to go in? Do I want to do this or do I want to do that? This may also be kind of talking about the full moon in Gemini that's going to be coming later this year, that maybe you're giving yourself until Sag season to make a bigger decision about what's going to happen in terms of your home or your living situation. I will tell you that later in the year in Sag season, you know, Mercury is going to turn retrograde, and that's going to be in Sagittarius. So Mercury ruling relationships in your family or your home, when that goes retrograde in the 10th, you're either kind of saying, I'm taking a step back from work because I'm moving, or I'm changing directions with my career. So at least it's giving you a timeline. This can also mean you've been really kind of thinking about this since June in terms of what changes you want to make, or maybe what direction you're willing to go in, or if you're kind of willing to kind of open up a second option. So maybe you are considering moving when you weren't before. Maybe it means that you're considering another job when you weren't before, and that you're going to have choices. And it's going to be just challenging because now you're being presented in a situation where you're like, in order to grow or evolve, I actually have to make a change. Which one's going to give? I've said this to a lot of my Pisces risings, but honestly, like with the North Node in your sign and Saturn and Neptune going back into your sign, everything has to be about what's best for you, and like you intuitively navigating how you're living, who you're in relationship with, where you're working. So I like that the 6 of Pentacles comes up. That's basically saying you've got a 6-month working window where you're going to receive more support. Like I feel like you're going to be leaning in the direction of taking jobs or moving places that feel like it's going to benefit you. What, is a job going to pay you more? Is there going to be better benefits? Are they going to be asking you to kind of come on board? Are they willing to work with you? Are they complimentary and supportive of you? Also, it can mean that, you know, you're looking at the same thing when it comes to home and living situation. Like if you're going to make a move, you're going to make a move that's going to be more financially, you know, kind of, I think beneficial, or maybe you're going to be looking at something that is going to be a little bit more so balanced, especially within like a relationship or a partnership. She says maybe 2 part-time jobs, doing things I really like to do. It could be that as well. There's definitely going to be a lot of change, I think, with, you know, the retrograde in your 10th house later this year. But I know for a lot of Pisces and Pisces risings with Jupiter going into the 5th house, which in the fall will trine Saturn in your sign, means that if you're nurturing or caretaking or growing something or taking care of something or someone, or if you're launching what feels like a business that is very emotionally connected, or something with like property, home design, interior design, home flipping, property management, like child management, entertainment, right? Even childcare or anything like that. And I say that because Jupiter's in the 5th house. It can give you an opportunity to actually make more. So you can kind of navigate some of like the changes that you're looking to make in your career by doing businesses and things that are going to be closer to home. And if you want out of the house, I would say, great. Like, are you going to maybe start thinking about like pet sitting, house sitting? Are you going to think about maybe getting into property management? Or are you going to, you know, maybe start kind of flipping some like furniture or some like home related things? And home projects, creative projects can be really beneficial for you. So I think over the next 6 months, you're going to be kind of trying these little things, seeing what kind of sticks, and also being really open to kind of getting out of the house and doing something very different. So I hope that that's helpful for you. She says, I live in Philly and I'm getting antsy and claustrophobic. And you know what? Sometimes the Uranus and Gemini is fun because it means that you could be going back and forth between what is like 2 home or living situations. It can also mean because, you know, obviously Uranus is connected to Aquarius, it can mean that you're creating like a little private space in your home where you can be doing some of your spiritual work or some of your spiritual studies or meditation or something where you can be kind of having like a craft room or a craft corner, which is going to help you really kind of focus, you know. And if Gemini is your north node and your moon, then it's definitely time to switch things up on the home front. That's definitely going to give you a lot more I think freedom and like a little bit more open-mindedness when it comes to where home could be, and also a little bit more flexibility with maybe being able to work from home. Hopefully that's helpful for you, Corey. For those of you guys who are tuning in, you can scan the QR code right up there if you want to get in the queue, and I will add you in. It looks like Amanda popped in there, so I've got you there too. We're going to move on to Frankie, and then we've got Matt and Briana. All right, so let's see what Frankie says. Hi, Candace. Happy Friday. I'm wondering what the tarot cards can tell me if Brian and I will reconcile. We're on a break from each other. We got into an argument a few months ago. We're not officially dating, but there is a mutual attraction and connection. I'm a Libra rising and a Taurus sun. He's an Aquarius sun, and we both have our moon sign in Virgo. Thank you as always. Well, I think of as you being like a Libra rising, right? Like Mars is moving through your 12th house. It's 12th house to your ascendant. And as Mars is going through there, you know, it's been really agitated recently, right? It's been in conjunction to the South node. So there's been feeling of this like loss or disconnection from a partner. Maybe you're having dreams about them, or you're questioning where they went or what's up with them. We've also seen Mars, you know, it's going to come into an inconjunct or a quincunx in this next week with Chiron. So it's going to represent the fact that they're still wounded, they're a little isolated, maybe they're kind of withdrawing a little bit. And obviously Saturn and Neptune are also in your 7th house. So there is now this reflection as they're retrograde on relationships. So you really got to go and look at what's happening with your natal Mars. Is there any transits or aspects to your natal Mars that's making relationships more challenging or more supportive? So a very big energy is coming up in this next week. So I hope that you're subscribed and you watch this week's Astro Weather, because I just filmed it. And I talk about Mars going into Libra and how Mars in Libra is about this power up period for relationships. Now, it does give us more oomph, momentum, and focus when it comes to drive in partnerships and relationships. However, Mars in this sign is like debilitated and it's kind of wishy-washy. And first thing it's going to do is right when it's coming into Libra, it's going to oppose Saturn and Neptune in Aries, and Aries is ruled by Mars. So one interpretation that I have for this just generally is a lot of like Mars going into your 1st house. You need to kind of focus on what you're doing. You need a routine. You need to focus on yourself. You need to be physically active and be mindful that you're going to be a little bit of like a hot tamale with Mars in your sign. 2 is that Mars will oppose Saturn and Neptune, which basically means it's going to be you going, I'm not waiting for you, you know, I am doing my own thing. If you're not going to call me back, if you're not going to communicate with me or reach out to me, whatever, you know, I'm doing me, I'm not waiting for you. But there can also be, because Mars is the ruler of Saturn and Neptune, which is retrograde, and Mars is on your ascendant, that you're acting like a little maybe, what's the word that I'm looking for? Like you're kind of dismissive and you're more self-focused, and maybe you're assuming he's not interested when he's assuming you're not interested, and both of the oppositions are kind of like, you know, playing chicken, and you're waiting for one person to say something or the other, and like both parties are being stubborn. So that's a very big energy that's going to be playing out here for like the next week or so. So you really, really, really want to be mindful of that. Throughout the Mars transit, we'll also see like an opposition to Chiron, which can bring some relational issues here as well. Positive is at least Mars in Libra is going to trine Pluto in your 5th house. So it's making you very passionate, very charismatic, very creative. Also, it's going to trine Uranus in your 9th. So that's going to give you the opportunity to kind of say, okay, you know, I'm willing to kind of do things that are a little bit more adventurous, or I'm willing to get out there and meet somebody new, or I'm focusing more on my joy or my pleasure. It's not so much about you, it's more about me. So be very careful with some of those transits, because those are going to be particularly difficult for everybody, but really for, I think, Libra and Aries. And when Libra's, you know, when Mars is on your ascendant, you're the one who's creating problems, unfortunately. So we've got the Devil card, the Page of Swords, and the Magician. Here's the deal. You know, I mean, it says you guys were dating casually. I'm sure you know at this point with Saturn, Neptune going in and out of your 7th house, it's going to be showing you whether or not other parties who you're kind of involved with or dating, like, are they actually taking initiative? That's like a big thing. Aries is supposed to be me first. It's dynamic. It's passionate. It's not afraid to, you know, go after what it wants. And like, this is literally a sign that will hunt you. And I've said this to a lot of Libra risings. I'm like, if you're not seeing a partner that's going above and beyond, trying to win you over, trying to partner with you, trying to work with you, then that's not your person, because that is the archetype of Aries. Maybe it's a little bit different right now because Saturn is there and it's kind of showing that maybe they're doubting themselves, maybe they're going through a difficult time, maybe they're unsure of who they are or where they're going, especially with Neptune being there. So they could be a little bit more passive, and they could also be a little bit more confused with what it is that they actually want. So I say this because, you know, the Devil card's coming up. So it's saying that there's been some problems, or there's been some hangups or some challenges where maybe you've been feeling like, man, no matter what I do, I just can't really shake this guy. Like, I want it to be him, but there's always a problem, or there's a hangup, or there's an issue. And like, we keep kind of running into the same problems. And I would say don't ignore those problems, because, you know, the Devil card is definitely a card that deals with temptation, but it can also be about getting stuck. It can also be about being in a situation that's not beneficial for either party. Specifically, this says temptation and lust. So not getting pulled in purely because physically there's a connection, or just because, you know, you feel like you don't want to be alone. Mars in your sign is going to teach you that you can kind of break free from some of the bounds of Saturn, and you can kind of go and do you, and just trust that when and if they're meant to come back, they will. And it's not going to be something that you have to kind of make them do, because if you go toe to toe with a Mars Saturn opposition, it is ugly. Now that's the past position. Now we have the Page of Swords coming up. So, you know, the Page of Swords can be talking about you as a Libra, a Libra rising, I guess I should say. This can also be talking about some kind of small form of communication, usually phone call, email, text message. It's nothing in person. Nobody's like really trying to reach out to you. This is a card that does talk about like making a connection, and this says curiosity and intellectual growth. You're exploring new ideas and exploring your knowledge and understanding of the world. But in a relationship sense, it's curiosity and exploration, you know, of the other person. So somebody might text the other person, how are you doing? Hope you're well. Been thinking about you. Like, what are you up to? Just very neutral, not trying to make plans, not trying to smooth things over, just kind of letting you know, hey, I'm here. This can also represent for you that there is like an idea that kind of comes about where you're like, man, the more that I think about this relationship, actions speak louder than words, and I'm not seeing any action on his behalf. So maybe it's about you kind of recognizing and realizing, well, if he wants to, he would. And maybe there's going to be affirmations, or there's going to be journaling or some exercise that you're going to do that's like giving yourself that fulfillment, giving yourself that acknowledgement without feeling like you need to get it from him. And then the final card you get is the Magician card. So the Magician card, you know, it can go one of two ways. Technically, you know, it's saying it has not been a good time to connect in the past, but likely there is going to be a reconnection. At the very least, you guys are going to be able to communicate and you're going to talk. However, I do think that the Magician card can be about communication. It can also be about anything connecting to attraction and luring that person back in. It's about manifestation, so it's as above, so below. So there can be a sense in you going, okay, I'm going to do something. I'm going to light a candle. I'm going to sit down, write an affirmation, or I'm going to meditate on wanting to connect with this person. If it's meant to be, they'll come back in. It's about trying to influence things more on a subconscious level, less on an action kind of based. And this also means that, things are still evolving and transforming right now. The Magician can mean that you're going through a bit of a power up period where you're going to be feeling more confident, versus stuff that's kind of going on with him where he's still kind of working out some of the kinks and trying to figure out where he stands. Don't get impulsive and try to reach out to him during the Mars-Saturn opposition, because likely you're not going to get much and you're going to feel kind of like meh. But what I do like is that, the Mercury retrograde in your 11th is going to be trining Saturn. So, if there's social events, if there's parties, if there's a gathering, whatever, you can kind of be like, look, there's this thing going on. I'd love to see you if you want to connect, and you can invite him as long as it's like a group dynamic, because Mercury trine Saturn makes me feel like you guys can kind of iron some of that stuff out. Down the road, as we're getting into September and Libra season, you're going to want to watch what's happening with the full moon in Aries, because that's going to give you more insight as to where things are going to kind of land with this relationship. And also you got a full moon coming in your 5th house. So that can definitely be a big turning point for relationships and meeting people. And whether you're in a relationship or not, you know, a lot of Libra risings have great transits for taking a little bit more of like a risk in love over the next week and potentially meeting somebody new. Hopefully that's helpful for you. Don't repeat those same patterns. That's my advice. All right, so we've got Matt, Briana, and Sharon. And if you guys are tuning in, let me know. Let me know where you're watching from. Make sure you're subscribed and scan that QR code if you want to get in the queue. All right, let's see what Matt has to say. Matt says... starting a new teaching job on Monday, August 4th. While I'm very excited and very nervous, I've worked with kids in the mental health juvenile system for the past 8 years, and this is my first my first time teaching normal kids, public school. I'm also a little embarrassed. Just because I'm new and wondering what my coworkers are thinking about me. Are they judging me for being a little nervous? How will these first few months and especially the first week go? Okay, good questions. I think it's interesting that you've got like the Mars transits in your 6th house and you're starting a new job. And also I think it's interesting that the Mars South Node is supposed to be about like not being critical about yourself or about what other people think. And that's kind of like feeding off of Saturn and Neptune in your 1st house. But in theory, when I think about putting all of the like transits together, you know, Mercury retrograde in your 5th, getting back into teaching in a different way, how you're teaching and compared to a group, right? That's the opposition to Pluto. Am I going to make friends at work? All of that stuff seems to be like the theme. So let's take a look and see what the first, week or couple of months is going to look like. And also, is there anything that you need to worry about in terms of feeling like judged by anybody? And what is it kind of looking like as you're getting going? So I've got the World card, the Knight of Pentacles, and the Ten of Swords. So the Ten of Swords is in the past position. So this is kind of saying like, yeah, you've been through some stuff, right? Like there's definitely been like a lot of like challenges. There's been a lot of disappointments and there's been a lot of issues in terms of like past, kind of jobs that you've had in education and working with children. Specifically in a career sense, this is like kind of feeling like there's remorse or that there has just been something that hasn't been working and you have needed to kind of walk away and let it go. So I know we've talked about that a lot, how difficult and like traumatic it's been, not just working with those kids, but some of the issues that you've had with injuries and also just feeling like there hasn't been a lot of support or guidance maybe within that particular position. So I feel like that's the past, and what you're moving towards is the Knight of Pentacles. So I see you as going in a direction where you're like, I'm going to proceed forward. I'm going to be a little cautious. Like, I'm going to take my time, but like you're intending on staying there because the coins is going to be about staying. So, I definitely feel like in a career sense, this is really talking about hard work, dedication. This is also about you really feeling like you're persevering maybe over some of the past issues you've had. And I feel like, honestly, the Knight of Pentacles is the most reliable. So they're going to see you as somebody who's like, he knows his stuff, he's experienced, like he's worked with kids before, he's intelligent, and also like he's here to stay. So nobody's going to be looking at you like you don't know what you're doing. They may see you as somebody who's a little shy because the Knight of Pentacles is a little bit slower maybe to kind of warm up to people. But they're not going to see you as somebody who's weird, or nobody's going to be kind of judging you. I think you may be on the younger side for some of the people who are going to be working there, because a knight can be seen as somebody who's kind of youthful. And I also feel like this might talk about, because it's an earth sign, that you actually might make friends with like another person at work who could be a Taurus, a Virgo, or a Capricorn. So I do feel like you're solid in terms of going in, getting everything done. And you're probably going to have somebody who's going to be like, hey, you're new here, and is going to be kind of friendly and show you the ropes. The final card you get is the World card. So this is about completion, fulfillment, success, recognition. This is also feeling like you're getting tangible results and something that's worth celebrating. So I think you're going to feel like relieved, especially with a 10 and a World coming up, that you're like, oh, thank God I left that other job, right? Like that's the job that I needed to kind of leave in order to get to where I need to be now, and feeling like it's all coming full circle. Maybe the experiences that you've had that have been more challenging are getting kind of balanced out because you're going into something that's going to feel more fulfilling. I will be honest with you though, you know, I do feel like there is going to be some stuff that will come up in September. So if you're aware of where the astrology is going, you know, you're going to have that lunar eclipse in Pisces, which I feel like really is going to be feeling a little bit more emotionally stable and balanced, and feeling like you have some fulfillment and some peace at home, and like less stress when it comes to work. Even Saturn and Neptune going back into Pisces is going to feel like you're kind of on autopilot at work, and it's going to give you some peace. And then the other thing to think about is the second eclipse, the solar eclipse in Virgo, which is going to be talking about like new relationships really budding, getting to know people, and like meeting people at work, which will be the end of September. I think it's kind of funny that the eclipse is like at 29 degrees, so it's right on the cusp of your 7th house of relationships. And it's saying like you need to get active. You're going to have to participate in staff, you know, kind of scheduling and like projects, or there's going to be meetings, or there's going to be events that you're going to be invited to, and people are going to ask you, hey, you know, do you want to go to the school dance? Do you want to be here for, you know, this particular project? Do you want to head this group at school? Do you want to be involved in, you know, this like extracurricular activity? They're going to invite you because Mercury is going to be in your 7th. That will set up a 6-month cycle that's giving you more of an opportunity to be active with people at work, and you might meet someone. So, you know, I think the oppositions to Saturn and Neptune along your descendant is really kind of suggesting you're like, I don't know, I'm not sure. Ease your way into it. But I think by the time you're getting to the fall, you're going to see that there's a lot more social connections, and that it's all coming full circle. And the experiences that you have had have led you to this point where I think it's going to be much smoother sailing in this new position. Good luck. Congrats on that job opportunity. I know it's been a long time coming. Thanks, Ronnie. I appreciate it. Shifting Luna says, hi, Candace. Came here for a birth chart reading since I didn't get one last week, but I'm down to do tarot too. Well, we are happy to take you for a tarot reading, and we'll be here next week doing astrology. If you have questions about your birth chart, you're very welcome. All right, so those of you guys who still want to get a reading, you can by scanning the QR code. We'll leave it open for a bit longer. We're going to move now to Briana. We've got Sharon, and we've got Samantha. You guys are all on deck. You guys can still get a reading. You just have to scan the QR code and make your donation. $20 for one card, $40 for 3. All right, let's see what Briana has to say. She says, hello, Candace. One card pull. I'm curious on the general energy for me this month of August of 2025. Thank you very much. I'm a Gemini rising with a Scorpio sun and a Virgo moon. All right, well, let's take a look here, what we can tell you about the month ahead. Obviously, lots of planets are going to be moving from Leo into what is going to be Virgo. So being a Virgo moon, that's going to be quite important. Lots of 3rd house to 4th house energies. Could be traveling, could be moving, and also focus on, well, home and family. But let's see what the cards have to say for you. How funny. These cards are sassy sometimes. I was like, there's going to be a focus on Virgo. Hi, there's the Hermit card. So the thing that I think about is that for, you know, for Gemini risings, right? Like Mercury is your chart ruler. So it's retrograding in the 3rd. So it means that there is like a need to go back, reflect, rework something. Now that could be something you've learned. That can be conversations with siblings, with neighbors. This could be card changes. This could be whether or not you're moving, if you're traveling. There's something kind of going on here. And it's doing this prior to, obviously, Mercury coming into your 4th house, Virgo, where you're going to have it transiting your moon, where you're going to be having eclipses, all of that stuff. So I think it's putting an emphasis on like really turning within during the retrograde. And it's also trying to get you to really focus on solitude, anything in regards to feeling inspiration. It can be about listening to your gut, your intuition, and like the changes that you're making or the information that you're downloading prior to going into the eclipses, where you're going to have a September eclipse that's going to be career focused. You're going to have another September eclipse that's going to be focused on your home. My question is what do you need to get in order before this happens? If you know that you're going to be moving, if you know that you're going to be traveling, if you know that there's going to be some big changes with home and family, you need to listen to what your gut is telling you intuitively that something is coming up. She says, wow, this is crazy. Literally today I thought, I bet Candace is going to pull the Hermit card. Well, it can mean that you're also in a state of being like, I'm turning within, right? Your chart ruler, Mercury's retrograde. So the question is, what are you thinking about? Especially because Mercury is connected to the South Node in the 4th house, and it's also connected to eventually, you know, the Sun, but Mars is there right now. So what's going on where you're having to rethink or rework what's happening on the home or the family front or with where you're living? That's what I'm wondering. And also, if you're feeling like it's not the right time to sign contracts, to connect with people, to discuss how you're feeling, that makes sense too, because the Hermit card is basically saying you need a little bit of time. Specifically, this says it's about self-reflection, introspection, you know, contemplation, withdrawal, solitude, and searching. Going within and seeking solitude and introspection. You need to retreat from the world to find inner peace and guidance. Well, I mean, in theory, if this card is coming up where you're questioning about, well, what am I supposed to be doing? You need more alone time. Now, in a career sense, you could be, you know, kind of assessing and deciding what direction you're going in. In a financial sense, it can mean that you're focusing on saving or budgeting. And it's giving you a time period of really the end of August to the beginning of September that's when you're going to be making your moves. So listen to what your gut is telling you. Definitely do some like journaling. I think that's really wonderful during a retrograde in your 3rd house. And pay attention for any conversations or communications that you're having with like home and family members, because likely it's going to be showing you some connection to the changes that will be happening in the month ahead. Hopefully that's helpful for you. I'm wondering, why did you think I was gonna pull that card? And those of you guys who are sending payment, just listen for your name. I'll call your name before we're getting ready to take your reading. So I've got Adrian, Tammy, Silk, Stephanie, Michelle, Jessica, Tiana, Kimberly, Sarah, Amanda, you guys all popped in. So if you hear your name, I've got you. All right, so we're going to keep moving on. Hopefully that was helpful for you, Briana. We've got Sharon, and we've got Samantha and Dorothy. So let's see here. Sharon, did you send me your question? And Sipping Single, what is your first name? You guys need to put your questions in the memo box in PayPal. That's how I read your question. So for Sharon and Samantha and Dorothy, I need all of your guys' questions. Okay, so there's Samantha. So I just need Sharon. And I'm sure Dorothy sent it earlier too. And then Sippin' Single, let me know what your first name is, please. Okay, Sharon says you put it at the top of the chat. Let's look. There you go, Sharon. I see you now. All right, we're going to take Sharon. She's got a 3-card question. Hey, Candace, got a 3-card question. Can you let me know what is the best and right place to put my attention at this point? Also regarding the transits, help for guidance. Born October 973 in Georgetown. I've been following you for some time, so please give it to me straight. Thank you very much. Well, I don't know your chart. You're going to have to tell me your sun, moon, and rising, and I can tell you more. Hey, and we took you were the very first question, so you can go back either when it's not live or you can scan back. You were the first question I took. All right, so this is going to be for Sharon. If you send me your date of birth, or not date of birth, but send me your sun, moon, and rising, because I'm not doing astrology today unless you guys tell me what your placements are. But obviously you're a Libra. All right, where to put your attention right now and what to be focusing on. Cap rising, Libra sun, Pisces moon. All right, 1, 2, 3. So this is going to be for you, Sharon. Well, these are some pretty damn good cards for some very challenging astrology, which you're about to encounter. So that makes me feel better. Let's talk positives. Okay, so positives are that these are cards that are talking about figuring out where it is that you want to go. What's going to make you the happiest? What's going to make you the most fulfilled? Page of Cups can be saying that you're really focusing on filling your own cup. It can mean that you're paying more attention to your intuition, your emotions, or that there is a new relationship opportunity that's about to present itself to you. Watch for water signs. So Cancer, Scorpios, and Pisces can definitely get highlighted here. But this is a card that talks about being dreamy, intuitive, inspired, really listening to your emotions and like focusing on like nurturing something or bringing in some kind of supportive partnership or care. Pages are also younger people, so it can be about younger people that can be coming in. It can also mean that you're being a little bit more idealistic and you're focusing on how life could be or should be and really trying to follow your dreams. Then you've got the Four of Wands, which is talking about temporary spaces and places. So opportunities to meet people, like a relationship can set up or you could meet somebody if you're at the right time or the right place. Four of Wands can be talking about parties, celebrations, weddings, gatherings. This is also kind of saying that it's a time where you're really focusing on community, home, and any celebrations. This is also going to be about gatherings and feeling like you're belonging. So you're wanting to be around people who are going to be boosting you and supporting you. And this can be a time where you're really enjoying being around other people and you need other people to kind of boost you and like lift you up. Final card that you get is the Ten of Cups, and the Ten of Cups is about complete emotional fulfillment. This is about happiness. This is a happy ever after card. This is about joy, relationships, harmony, domestic bliss, good news when it comes to family, good news when it comes to celebrations. Like usually when I see these two cards together, it means that there's about to be a big party or an engagement, or that there's going to be a wedding, or that there's going to be some kind of gathering which people are celebrating that you're going to enjoy. When I see these two cards together, this can mean that there is a proposal, an engagement, or there's like a baby that's getting ready to be born. I'm not saying that has to be you, but it can mean that there are things like that that are going on that you're going to be kind of like, wow, okay, I want to participate in this, or I'm being invited to these things, and there's stuff that's worth celebrating, and you might meet somebody along the way. From an astrological perspective, I think that one of the signs that are really going to be challenged quite a bit in this next week or so is definitely going to be Capricorn placements. So if you happen to be a Capricorn rising, that means that your chart ruler Saturn is going through your fourth house. So there is a sense of going back home, dealing with family, figuring out, home or living situation, dealing with, obviously, taking on a lot more maybe than you're used to with family responsibility. And at least that's retrograde, but you're going to see in the next month or in the next couple weeks or so, Mars is going to go into your career house. So it's like Mars is heating up career, but Saturn and Neptune in the fourth house is, but I've got family obligations, I've got responsibility, I've got things that I got to do. And you're going to be feeling pulled between two different directions. Who you are out in the world and focusing on your career and really being, I think, maybe more diplomatic or focusing on professional relationships. And it can also mean there's like more competitiveness and fierceness with employers. And that's coming into conflict with being like, wow, there's so many great things happening at home, but it's like work is like just like draining. So not a time to feel like you have to pick either your family or your career, not a time to like quit and relocate for a job. Try to kind of keep the peace over the next week when you see this opposition, because I think it's difficult. But I see what you're saying. My niece is getting married at the end of the month. So this is the celebration, the family celebration, and like the union. My advice is that if you are in a relationship, going looks like it's going to be like a really sweet endeavor, and spending time with your family is going to give you that much needed kind of like time away. And it can be really good for an existing relationship, and there could be a lot of like reconnection. If you're single, girl, you might meet somebody, right? You're a Capricorn rising, you got Jupiter in your seventh house. That's like the man buffet transit. So I definitely feel like there's a lot of good relationship transits with like Jupiter in your seventh. Venus and Jupiter are going to be meeting in the next couple of weeks. And you might meet somebody, and like I would definitely be on the lookout with what's kind of going on with the home and family celebrations. Because not only is it going to be really nice and indulgent, it's a great break from work, but it's really good for your love life for some reason, right? Anyway, I love it when the cards get it right. So have fun at that wedding. She goes, yes, I'm going with my boyfriend whom I may break up with. Well, the cards are saying that once you expose him to the family dynamic and things like that, or he's around people, you know, you're going to have people that are going to be like, oh my God, I love him. And it might actually like change the perspective that you have, or like just being around other people getting married and that stuff and the way that he is. It may give you perspective on whether or not you could actually see yourself keeping that person around, but it actually looks really good. So, you know, if you see somebody cute and you are going to dump them, definitely keep your eyes out, because I think that you might be a hot commodity. Good luck. I hope it's a good one for you. All right, we've got Samantha and then Dorothy. And I know Samantha popped in here. She gave me her question. So Samantha says, hi Candace, Samantha here. I may have forgotten to add my question. Will I be able to purchase a home next year? What should I expect? Well, let's take a look. Certainly I've said 1,000,001 times that I do think that the market for buying next year is going to be quite positive for a lot of people. But let's take a look and let's see if this is the case specifically for you, Samantha. Do the cards think it's in your future to be purchasing a home next year? All right, so in this order, oh, wishes granted, wishes fulfilled. I do see that being very doable for you. It does look like you got a goal, like you've got a goal in mind. It's not just like, oh, am I going to buy a house? It's like, I got to get some stuff in order. So it is about taking action, in particular, making, saving, investing money. Like there is some sense of socking stuff away. But I do see that happening primarily because the first card that you get is the Star card. Okay, so it is saying like, hey, this is my goal, right? So in a financial sense, it means that this is about investments. This is also potentially connecting to any kind of growth of resources. This is like really focusing on like meeting that goal that you're hoping to have happen. It can mean time-wise, you know, you're looking at minimum of about 8 months. So if we're sitting in August, 8 months from now is going to be about April of next year. It looks like the time window that's opening up is going to be about February of 2026. So I'd be looking at February on, maybe through the spring is when I would be really kind of like taking a look at what's going on. For your astrology, you got to look at the 4th house. So what's going on? Are there transits there? Are there eclipses there? Are there retrogrades there? And what's happening to your 4th house Lord? That's going to give you a little bit more insight in when it comes to moving or your home. Moving's more the 3rd. The 2nd house is more financial. But there should be something going on around that time in your chart. Now, you do get the Knight of Swords, which can be talking about taking swift action, like learning more, exploring new areas, also learning more about finances and money. There can be support that can be coming from air signs. So it can be like Aquariuses or Geminis or Libras. And in a financial or a career sense, it's about being ambitious and also being very determined. So being determined to meet your goal. This can also mean that there's financial gain and that you're actually moving, because obviously horses are about movement, getting from one point to another. This can also mean that it's like something that happens very swiftly. So, you know, when the opportunity presents itself, you're going to kind of strike, and you might be actually moving somewhere, not far, but somewhere that's going to be another location. Could be another neighborhood or another city in the area that you live in, where there's more community, because the Star card is like being where you feel like your friends are, or where there's going to be a good community or people that you can connect with, or feeling like you can kind of get out and about and that you're not isolated. And then the final card that you get is the 8 of Pentacles. And this is why I'm saying like, this is about you working hard to fulfill your goals. But also the 8 of Pentacles is working hard, slaving away, you know, at your job, or making money, or stashing money, or investing money. And like, it's about repetition. So I think there's going to be something where you're regularly looking at the houses that are on the market, right? You're regularly taking money and you're depositing it into a savings account. You're regularly investing money so that way it can grow and you can have more, because this is about progress and also like a job well done. It might mean also that there is like a sense of more dedication and, you know, focusing on what sacrifices you have to make in order to kind of like make this doable financially, because it does look like you're going to get to buy a house, but it also looks like it comes from persistence, commitment, maturity, and like, you know, like the willingness to put forward the work, to bring the money forward so you can actually make this happen. And when the time does come, it looks like you're more willing from about February on to be making moves and looking like you're getting ready to move. So stay employed, stay smart with your finances, stay budgeting, and really be thinking about areas that you can go that's going to be supporting you and make you feel like you're going to have friends or community, and also like things to do, right? Hopefully that's helpful for you, Samantha. We're moving on to Dorothy. We've got next up, I'm calling out some names. Not everybody has had their reading yet, so don't worry. And we'll leave the PayPal QR code up a little bit longer. So if you guys want to get in there and you want to get your reading, we're going to call last call soon. So we'll leave it open for about 10 minutes longer. All right, so we have next is Dorothy, Zach, and Amanda. You guys are next on deck. All right, so Dorothy says, I started a notary business in June and I brainstormed a YouTube channel during Mercury retrograde. I'm a mutable mess. Should I focus on marketing the business or YouTube? Gemini rising, Aries sun, Pisces moon. All right, so something that I'm thinking about is being a Gemini rising. You are seeing like so many of the like transits that are going on right now with the Mercury retrograde in Leo is in your third, right? So it's going to be things like, is it going to be the YouTube channel? Is it going to be the notary business? And obviously that Mercury retrograde, which rules your chart, is in opposition to Pluto. So there's going to be like this tension revolving around what you should be marketing, because Pluto in the 9th house is going to be marketing. So let's take a look. Let's see. I mean, I think a notary business is not a bad idea for you in particular, because obviously you're a Gemini rising and like, you know, you're open to being able to do something that's more flexible, or maybe that's going to be like a mobile notary. I don't know if that's something you've considered. But the Mercury retrograde in your third house can be good too. So, you know, both of those ideas make me wonder. Aries suns, on the other hand, I know are definitely focusing on businesses that are going to be more connected to, you know, documents in communication and media. So you kind of have a little bit across the board. So first things first is I want to see, I'm just going to pull 2 cards. I'm going to be like, well, which one's best? All right. So we're going to first pull for the notary job, and then we're going to pull one for the YouTube position. All right. So this is what I get for the notary stuff. 9 of Swords. This is what I get for the YouTube stuff. The notary stuff makes me feel like there is like a sense of you kind of being stressed out about it and questioning whether or not or how it's going to work. If you put too much money into it, if you're promoting it too much, you know, is it going to be something that's going to pay off? In a career sense, this means that there can be stress from work. So I would say, like, don't overthink it. Probably the best thing that you can do with some of these retrogrades in your third is be promoting this locally, right? So like, I don't know if you're willing to be like a mobile notary or not, but like in a local sense, I would be like, you could do cheap local ads. You could do ads that are going to be in your local newspaper. You could go into your local Facebook groups and let people know that you're a notary or a mobile notary. Like, there are ways to promote what you're doing without breaking the bank, right? And like just making it known that you have this service and like letting it be. I wouldn't spend too much money on it, because I feel like if it gets into the right hands, or if there are people making referrals to you, or if there are particular businesses or companies that require notaries, maybe, you know, you could go there locally and you could drop off some business cards, or you could say, here's my website, or here's my phone number. You can get in touch with me at any point. And like, I would not spend a lot of time or a lot of energy or money. Do it all locally. Go and make a list of businesses that require notaries, hit those businesses, go drop off flyers, or maybe go drop off business cards, or something like that, and call it a day, right? Make sure you've got a website and people can kind of reach you. That's all that I would do. In terms of the YouTube channel though, you know, the judgment card is saying, this is something you've been thinking about for a while, or maybe you've been going back and forth with whether or not you want to create a YouTube channel, or if you want to be teaching or sharing something. A lot of Aries with Uranus and Gemini now have something to say. So I feel like having Uranus in your first household sign means that, you know, you're flexible, you can do the mobile stuff, but also you're willing to kind of teach people and share information. And that's very strong with some of the sextiles to the Mercury retrograde in your third. Next year, Jupiter is going to be going into your third house, which means if you do start something social media based this year, next year it could actually do pretty damn good.
especially as it trines Saturn in your 11th house, which means you have an audience. So we promote the business for the notary stuff locally. We go in and maybe do a sweep and promote your business, you know, in some of those local groups. Maybe you go to the local businesses. But I actually feel like the Judgment card is saying, now the time has come. If you actually really want to do this, get the show on the road. And a seed that you're planting, both for a local business, but also for like a YouTube channel or a business of some kind that's about media, can actually really prosper in the next year. The outcome that I get for you is the Ace of Swords. So the key here is getting your voice out, right? Being heard, speaking up, promoting yourself. There's a lot that you can do by word of mouth. I think the Ace of Swords is really talking about writing, teaching, signing, you know, documents, websites, all of that stuff. And it's been a crazy retrograde for Gemini placements because a lot of you guys are feeling like you're kind of being pulled in two different directions. But I like the idea of you doing something that's more creatively fulfilling with the Mercury retrograde in your 3rd house personally. And she said, it has been, I feel like to do something, I have to do something to say, I'm always ready to make money. Jupiter is natally in my 9th and I feel the pressure to do more of than my 9 to 5. So if Jupiter's in your 9th, at some point Uranus in your 1st house is going to trine, right? You're also going to be seeing that Mars is going to be going through Libra in your 5th house here pretty soon, which is going to give you the opportunity to do something creative and kind of unconventional. It's going to trine Jupiter. What a wonderful time to have like a creative gig and something that you're doing that's going to be more fun and like personal. I vote for doing the YouTube stuff. I feel like even though it can feel grueling and confusing, you have a really nice week here to really kind of make a splash and do something creative. And I think it'd be a wonderful time to start that. And you would have to really give yourself about a year as you're watching Jupiter come into Leo next year. That can actually give you quite a big glow up and a lot more recognition for, you know, what you're doing with media. Ace of Swords is also about getting organized. It's about having a game plan. You know, I think the one thing that I really learned about YouTube is that consistency is king. So, you know, when you're building your audience and you're getting to where you're getting ready to get monetized, like that's only going to come if you're consistent. So by, you know, posting videos at the same time, on the same days, they're about the same length, right? Like that's really what I think partially why we kind of hit our sweet spot. And I would say coming up with like a content schedule, or maybe this would be a good idea to generate like a whole like list of maybe topics that you could be kind of talking about where they're short, kind of catchy, direct to the point educational videos that's very niche to the subject that you're creating, that's going to be drawing in attention and like more viewers to kind of get a feel of who you are and what it is that you have to share. And also it might be about, you know, offering services or products or something also, or like some kind of coaching or something that you have that ties into what you're doing with your YouTube channel, and people are going to be interested in kind of connecting and talking with you. So make sure people know how to kind of get in touch with you as well, right? She says, you're amazing to the producer and you. I have some work to do. I'll keep you updated. Well, definitely let us know what happens. Good luck with that. YouTube is obviously quite the journey, but those who stick it out and see it through oftentimes do find consistency is what really helps make them grow. All right, we're going to leave readings open for another 5 minutes. So if you guys want to get in the queue, get in the queue. I've got Zach, Amanda, and Sarah. You guys are my next victims. What's up, Zach? Zach says, hey, Candace, I'm turning 26 this upcoming Wednesday. I'm wanting a 3 cards reading on what this year will bring for me. Really hoping to hit my new financial career goals. Leo Sun, Cancer Rising, Gemini Moon. Well, happy almost birthday. Tuning in from Costa Rica. One of my favorite places, so I'm jelly. Where in Costa Rica are you? All right, so something I'm going to let you in on, a little secret here, and I don't want to scare you, okay? But each house has a different meaning, all right? So you're turning 26. So here's the secret sauce to what you've got going on if you're 26. You're in annual perfection year 3, all right? So if you happen to be, what was your rising sign again? Let's see, I think you said Cancer, your rising. Cancer rising. Then Virgo is your 3rd house, all right? Okay, cool. Southern zone. Is that where the black beaches are? So Virgo is your third house. So your job for the next year is you need to watch when planets are going through Virgo, which is literally going to be in about a month. We're going to have eclipses there, and obviously Mars has been going through there. 2 is you also need to watch Mercury retrograde cycles. So there is going to be a Mercury retrograde finishing up in Leo, which is very much tied to your money, your resources, your self-esteem stuff right now. There will be another one in Sagittarius happening in November into December, which is going to be more about changes with your health or changes with your work or your schedule. Scheduling travel plans can change there too. And then next year, you're going to see a Mercury retrograde that's going to be taking place in Pisces, which obviously will be happening in your 9th house, which could also be traveling plans that are changing your educational plans. And then I believe there's going to be a Mercury retrograde right around your birthday next year in Cancer. Okay, so Mercury is the Time Lord for the year. 2 is those eclipses that are going to be in Virgo in the spring and in the fall are definitely going to be important. So don't underestimate those, especially being a Cancer rising. And then go and look at what sign and what house your natal Mercury is in. That's going to give you some insights as to what's going to kind of happen for the next year. So I think Jupiter being in your rising sign is great. I think it's great for travel and focusing on healthier habits and routines and bringing in new work. I think that Jupiter is making you more adventurous and it's making you more in tune with your emotions. The only thing I would say is that for Saturn in your 10th and Neptune in your 10th, you're getting glimmers of where you're supposed to be going with your career. So you might feel like you need to do some traveling and get that out of the way first. For some of you guys, you're going to be training. You know, there's going to be something like that that's going on. Okay, so you have Mercury in the first house. So it's about how you think, how you feel, and emotions and intellect kind of connecting. And I would watch for when Jupiter's hitting your Mercury. That's going to be very important. When any planets are hitting your Mercury is when you're going to be feeling like, I want to write, I want to travel, I want to reach out, I want to, say something to somebody. And it can be more emotional, right? All right, so as for the reading for the year, this is what I have for you, Zach. This is what it's looking like. Oh my goodness. Are you meeting somebody? What is going on? There's a pair here. First of all, love all of the cards: bright, sunshine, happiness, joy, creativity, adventure, like good things. Obviously, we know that you're a Leo sun, so that can be really kind of tuning into that like natural energy of bold, dynamic, charismatic, creative, youthful, artistic, wanting to have fun. And it's really, I think the sun card kind of coming up is really kind of saying like, in the end, what's going to be happening is there's going to be a huge focus on, wow, that was the year that I really realized, what I'm supposed to be doing, what my purpose is, where I'm supposed to be, getting recognition for my career. And it is talking about specifically by the summer. So it's going to be next summer because summer's pretty much over at this point. Anyway, Queen of Wands, King of Wands. This is a pair. So it can be saying that you meet somebody this year that can be a really significant partnership. Now, they can be a fire sign. So Aries, Leo, Sagittarius, it could be one of these. I know for Leos, it has been crazy having Pluto in Aquarius. I know that it has been nothing but like changes with relationships or people who are too intense or it's just too much. And the Mercury retrograde has probably had you kind of going like, should I stay in my own lane? But I don't actually think how this is going to go for you this year. You're going to find either a creative collaborator or there's going to be a relationship that's going to pop up or somebody who's going to come in that's really going to change the way that you look at things. And we want kings and queens because they're mature. They're not pages. They're not knights, right? These are people who are really like, I think, at the top of their game. And sometimes they show up around like their birthday season. So I'd be really paying attention to, okay, August, pay attention to December, pay attention to April. These are times when they can kind of come through. But I think you're going to look back at this year and you're going to go, wow, I met some people that really kind of helped boost me up, figure out how to be, my most authentic self, how to really have fun, how to have adventure, and also how to be bold and brave. Now you're coming up as the King of Wands, so it is saying that you're seeking that adventure. You're really focusing on being in places or spaces where you're feeling like you can be inspired. The King of Wands is somebody who's very creative and charismatic, and he's also entrepreneurial. So there can be a sense of stuff coming up this year where you're like, I want to, go out on my own and do this, or I want to try to launch something creative, or I want to try to do something different. Certainly a lot of Cancer risings are doing that with Saturn and Neptune and Aries. They're considering opening a business, starting a business, going in a new direction career-wise, or working for themselves. And then on the other side of this, I think that this is also because somebody comes in who's like, I'll help you do it, or I believe in you, or I see you actually going the distance. Saturn does rule your 7th house of relationships. So the more you're focusing on your career or what's going on with your work, relationships can come in, but so can business partners, so can support systems, therapists, as well as even, like clients can be kind of coming in as well. So there's something really kind of good here. Working on being self-employed. Yeah, so I definitely feel like you're going to make that happen. Right now, there's a lot of reworking money stuff, but if you're eyes on the prize with really seeking something creative, fulfilling, and something that's your own, you're going to be able to accomplish that, and it looks like you're going to have somebody by your side. So look forward to that. Happy early birthday. Enjoy Costa Rica for me. All right, readings, we're calling last call now. And we've got Amanda, Sarah, and Kimberly. You guys are my next up. What's up, Exxalta? We take super chat too. All right, Amanda says, hey girl, I sort of feel lost, like you're my Friday night date these days. Hey, I feel the same way. I'm here with you guys every Friday too. Let me know any advice for the rest of the year, romance, finances, etc. I'm 29-degree Virgo rising, Cap Sun, Taurus Moon. Change is tough for me, but thanks in advance. All right, let's take a look. So what can we tell dear Amanda? What does she need to know right now as she's going through a bit of change? Any advice on romance or finances for the rest of the year? Well, I would just say keep an eye out. The next couple of days, Mars is crossing your ascendant. It's going to make you recognize and realize, because Mars rules your 8th, now is the time for change and getting a shift in order. So that's definitely something worth looking forward. You'll kind of fall in line with like the Libra rising horoscope. It's like, now is the time I'm moving forward with or without them. And it'll be a couple of days where you're going to definitely feel like inspired and like a bit of like a power up, right? So I've got the 5 of Cups, the King of Swords, and the Star card. Well, in terms of like romance and relationship, this can mean that there's like another person coming in. So specifically the King of Swords is definitely an air sign. Could be an Aquarius, especially because the Star card is coming up. But you know, Geminis, Libras, Aquarians, these are what I would be kind of watching for. Somebody can kind of pop in when you least expect it. But for the right now card, you're coming up as the 5 of Cups, which is a difficult card. This is about feeling like you're kind of like stuck in the mud. You know, this is a card that talks about dwelling on the past, loss, grief, disappointment, sadness, mourning, discontent, and feeling let down. So definitely like in a love sense, it's feeling kind of like regardless, having solitude with your career, you know, your healing situations, or you're accepting it. Maybe you're working through some kind of financial loss. Now, as a Virgo rising too, Mars going into Libra is more money related. You're going to feel like spending, or that you're going to want to like consume, or you're going to want to buy something. And there will be an opposition that you're going to see to Saturn and Neptune in your 8th. So be careful with expenses, like just buying because you're wanting to fill a void, or because you're wanting to kind of feel like, you know, you're getting high from like shopping or spending, like, and it may not actually make you feel fulfilled. So just kind of, you know, keep the debit card in your purse. Don't make any impulse spending. But for what's coming and where you're at right now, King of Swords can both be a reflection of you personally, where mentally you're getting things in order and you're feeling more in charge, and you're feeling more clear, and you're feeling more confident and like kind of standing up for yourself, which very much is like Mars going into Libra. It's this is right, this is wrong, this is what I need to do, this isn't what's working, and it's very matter of fact. This could be a counselor, a therapist, you know, getting a reading, or another person who comes into your life who's kind of giving you some kind of advice or supporting you in some way. Now, when this card comes up, it's definitely about feeling like it's more about reason and being matter of fact and like intellect. And this is also a time where communication and integrity is very important. I do feel like this can really put an emphasis on having high standards and having a lot of structure. So I feel like where maybe you haven't felt like you've had a lot of structure in maybe relationships, or maybe even in finances or work, Now you're coming up with a plan. And that's what I like about the King of Swords, is he can be very much like, okay, these are the problems that we're dealing with. Here is the solution, or here is the breakdown, or here is kind of the plan that we have for tackling these issues. Literally, when in doubt, write it out. The final card you get is the Star card, which is really great because it's about moving away from this period of feeling kind of stuck or depressed or not able to let go of the past because of a conversation you have with somebody. Maybe it's a book you read, an author that you listen to. Maybe it's like a motivational kind of like video. Something shakes you up and makes you go like, I need to heal this wound. I need to release this. I need to let this go because I've got something much bigger and better kind of coming in the future. I think the Star card can also kind of indicate that there's like support that's coming in for you with like community. So I wonder, you know, with Jupiter going into Cancer, for Virgo risings in particular, it's like making friends with people, you know, hanging out with people you haven't seen in a while, feeling like you have support, friends that feel like family, you know, getting invited to their place. I know it's still in your 10th house, so it can still be more kind of like work related. And that work is actually going very well. And I think you'll see in mid-August some really positive turning points, both for work as well as your, you know, friendships. But for right now, I feel like this is like a conversation you either have with yourself, or there is like a breakthrough that you have in a conversation with another person that you meet who's going to kind of make you realize like, wow, there's so much more that I can be bringing in. And really the world is your oyster. You know, the Star card means that if you're really wishing for a new relationship, or if you're wanting to manifest more abundance, so be it. Just be careful with spending and any borrowing or lending in the next week because it's not friendly with the Mars-Saturn opposition. Hope that's helpful for you, sending you good vibes. I will continue to be here on Fridays if you need me. And we're calling last call right now if you guys want to get in. All right. We've got Sarah, Kimberly, Tiana, and Jessica. You guys are all on deck. Sarah says, hey Candace, I am an Aquarius rising, Leo sun, Taurus moon. I started dating someone who's a Gemini sun, Libra moon, Gemini rising. We have Mars square Pluto on both sides, but my Mars squared his Pluto within 1 degree. The other way is 4 degrees. Whoa. I feel very conflicted about this situation because he has made it clear that he can't have a conventional relationship, but there is so much attraction between us. Also, this person has the ability to help me make a lot of money, which I really need and want, but seems to be reluctant to do so, and I don't understand why. I can't tell if it's a power struggle or if he just doesn't care. Ultimately, I'd like to know about love and money. All right. No, Silk, you're still, you're coming up here soon. You're about 5 readings away or so. I would say somebody who has a Gemini rising, Gemini sun with a Libra moon, that is going to be somebody who is going to be flighty as all hell, especially with Uranus going through their 1st house, and you're going to have Mars going into their 5th house. It's going to be very kind of like fun and flirty, but also it's going to be like limiting for them. And obviously you're all business, right? Aquarius rising, sun in the 7th house, moon in the 4th. I mean, that is a lot of fixed stuff. And if you take their astrology out of it and you think just about yours, you have got a Mercury retrograde going on in your 7th, which means there is a back and forth that's going on with a romantic interest. It's opposing Pluto, where there is some intensity or there's some Pluto themes that are coming up revolving around change and whether or not you guys can be together. This has probably also come up during the Mars retrograde if you guys were going back and forth earlier this year. Probably the thing that makes me kind of shiver the most when I look at like synastry in astrology is Mars-Pluto squares. That and maybe like Moon-Mars squares. I think that those are 2 of the more kind of challenging. Maybe it's Venus square Saturn, but I think even that can kind of be overcome. So Mars-Pluto squares are like nothing to kind of like scoff at. I think it can definitely bring some pretty significant issues in power struggles in relationships, and you're dealing with somebody who's definitely going through a period of being very flighty and needing to be honest about the fact that they need freedom in relationships. And there's not going to be a lot of being able to tie this person down. And I think this is coming up in the midst of your Mercury retrograde. Anyway, I hear you. You're wanting to know, you know, what the deal is between the 2 of you and whether or not it could be something, especially because it seems like, you know, there could be some really beneficial stuff they could help you with financially. So let's take a look. All right, so we have got the Nine of Cups, we have got the Nine of Wands, and we have got the Knight of Cups. Oh boy. I kind of feel like this is going to be something that's going to come and go. All right. And the Nine of Cups is actually a positive card. This is a card that's like getting what you want in the moment, like feeling very overjoyed, and that there is some kind of support. It is this feel good kind of vibe, especially in a romantic sense, that there can be happiness. There could be a sense of feeling very complementary to each other. And also like this feeling of like fulfillment and getting what you want in that regard. But emotionally, it's about being in the moment. It's not necessarily about anything long term. There's no coins that are kind of like really laying this down and saying, yeah, this is going to be a long term thing. I also think about the fact that, you know, like as a Aquarius rising, Pluto's retrograde in your sign. So you're changing and you're evolving as a person. And that could mean that you're learning to communicate and tell people this does or does not work for me, or this is now how I'm carrying myself, or this is now what I'm trying to do career-wise. And like, I think you're going to get a lot more out of him from an emotional dynamic of having like a physical or an intimate connection. But I don't really see a lot kind of manifesting in the form of like money. This is not something where I think that you're going to see a lot of support. While he's around and it's a good time and you guys are getting on well, things are going to be fine. You guys are going to enjoy yourselves, you're going to indulge, you're going to do your thing. But when you're going through a difficult time, when you are needing some kind of guidance with your career, if you're seeking somebody to kind of help you financially, whether that's finding work or giving you money, this guy's not going to be anywhere to be found. And a lot of that is because the Nine of Wands comes up, which is saying that when push comes to shove, when you're seeking more stability, or when you're seeking more commitment, or you're looking for somebody to support you, like you're going to be on your own. Okay, that's the warning. So specifically in a relationship sense, this means that you're trying to build resilience, you're trying to focus on building a partnership, you're trying to persevere, but you're going to be going through a lot of this stuff alone. So there's not going to be a lot of validating his emotions or his feelings. There's not going to be a lot of him maybe being there in a traditional sense where you're going through the motions, meeting each other's friends, committing, moving in together. Like that's not going to happen. There is going to be intermittent periods where you're going to be taking a step back going like, wow, okay, does he really like me? You know, does he have my back? Do I feel secure? And like you're gonna be on your own in certain situations. And the final card is the Nine of Cups, which is saying like, look, he's not a bad guy, right? But even without his transits, I think about being like Gemini Sun, Gemini rising with Moon in Libra. Like he's a bit of a playboy. Like that's somebody who likes the idea of dating and falling in love and having that connection. But at the end of the day, he's a Gemini Sun and rising, and he's gonna do what he's gonna do. Uranus going through his sign too means that he wants freedom. Jupiter rules his 7th house and it's in his 12th. So that means that he is going to have secret or kind of private relationships this year that aren't going to see the light of day. It's just not going to happen. So ultimately at the end of this, you know, do you have somebody helping you with money? No. Do you have somebody committing in traditional way? No. But you are going to have somebody who's going to be like, well, I'm here. You know, if you're looking for somebody who's charming, and if you want a nice night out, and if you want some companionship and somebody who can also be romantic or can kind of make you feel good, I'm here. And he definitely is like that knight in shining armor. But this is also somebody that you can become really idealistic about, or somebody who you can kind of create this like fantasy about. And I would say that is the challenge, right? Especially knowing that, you know, you have a Leo sun. What you're going to be seeing over, you know, the better part of like the next couple of years is Pluto's going to make an opposition to your sun. If it's anywhere between, if you have a sun between 0 and 10 degrees, you're already starting to feel the opposition. And you will find also that the eclipses over the next 2 years are putting an emphasis more on you. Not that you can't have relationships, but you're going to have relationships that are going to be either different or unconventional, right? Aquarius. So if you're willing to take him at this, you can have him. Don't expect much in terms of emotional commitment or in terms of money, but he'll definitely be an excellent companion and somebody who will be interested in you in an emotional sense and will make you feel good, right? Hopefully that's helpful for you. Obviously, a lot of Leo and Aquarius risings going through a lot of changes, kind of like in relationships right now. All right, so we've got Kimberly, Tiana, and Jessica. And just so you guys know, readings are now closed. So I'll give you guys the final readout of who we have. What's up, Steve? Briana, April, Heather, Adrian, Tammy, Silk, Stephanie, Michelle, Jessica, Tiana, and Kimberly, if you hear your name, I've got you. I don't know what's going on tonight, guys. I know there's a number of people who have like pending payments, so it seems like PayPal's acting like kind of weird. So I apologize for that. And then also I see for some people, like April, it says that your payment is pending until August 6th. So unless there can be like another way of sending payment, I technically have not gotten paid for the readings. You'll have to send it through Super Chat. All right, so let me go back to my list here. Let's go with Kimberly, and then Tiana, Jessica, you guys are on deck. All right, Kimberly, what's going on, girl? She says, hey, Candace, Pisces rising, Leo sun, really focusing on myself and what's best for me with what one thing shows up in the cards for me to focus on in particular. All right, let's take a look. Let's see what's happening. Kimberly, good moves. With the North Node and the eclipses coming in Pisces and a Mercury retrograde over your sun in the 6th, you should be focusing on health, habits, routine, and intuitively navigating what the best things are for you, health-wise, work-wise, and emotionally. So you're already doing it, but let's take a look and let's see what the cards can say for Kimberly. Oh, I'm gonna pick one. All right. I like how I was like intuitively picking one card, and I told you you're intuitively already doing it, and then you get the High Priestess card. So there you go. Confirmation at the bottom of the deck is the Judgment card. So first of all, what you're doing is already in alignment with the astrology, right? The retrograde is like what is and is not healthy, who should I not be working with, what should I be changing in regards to my habits. And these eclipses that are coming in that you're going to see in September are all eyes on you and your happiness. Also, there can be some challenges or kind of keeping certain people at a safe distance because you'll see eclipses in opposition to Saturn and Neptune. The High Priestess card talks about listening to your gut, and this is basically saying, really, and I think you're going to feel this, especially in September, when Saturn and Neptune are going back into Pisces, that you're like, you know, things don't really make sense, but my gut's telling me this, my astrology is telling me this, my dreams are telling me this, and you're finding it that life is getting very quiet, and you're waiting for the signal, or you're waiting for the message, or you're waiting for the direction, like from spirit or your higher self. That's the only way that I can explain it. And it's Pisces risings definitely know what I'm talking about. Like you guys won't make a move on a relationship, invest in something, you won't start a project, you won't contact somebody, you won't do anything until the time feels like it's right, right? And so right now, Saturn and Neptune are retrograding. They're going from your second house of money and resources into your first house of self, where you're going to go, okay, I'm getting ready to actually feel like now is the time. This fall is great for you guys. You're going to find a lot more emotional fulfillment, a lot more happiness, creative energy as well. And I feel like the High Priestess, what I love about her is that she's not taking action. She's just sitting on the throne. She's just waiting. She's waiting for things to kind of come to her directly. She already knows what moves she needs to make, and now she's waiting for the universe to kind of follow up and finish the details. So this card is saying, I trust my intuition and my inner wisdom. This is about mystery, spirituality, higher power, inner conscious voice. And with the High Priestess, there may be hidden knowledge or secrets that are being revealed to you. And if you listen closely to your inner voice, you will make the right decision. So keep on with that path, please. Pay attention. It's going to be especially strong here over the next couple of weeks. And navigate your schedule in a way that feels like it's in flow and promoting more happiness and joy. That's really the best advice that I can give you. Hopefully that's helpful for you, Kimberly. I'm sure I'll see you here soon. I've got Tiana, Jessica, Michelle, and Stephanie. And also I see Exxalta Tarot, so I'll add you to my list too. So with Tiana Moore says, what might be coming to me during this Jupiter-Venus conjunction in August? Well, let's take a look. What can Tiana expect during the Jupiter-Venus conjunction? Definitely a very positive transit, I'll tell you guys that. And it's happening right around the time Saturn and Mars are opposing. So kind of see this as like a lot of people are going to go, well, I'm separating from someone, or I'm, you know, removing something or cutting something out of my life, or I'm taking a break from this. But like this is this is the joy, the emotional fulfillment, the healing that I'm getting from making this change. So it's going to be a little wonky. But the card that I got for you is the Eight of Swords, which is interesting because I look at this card as if you've been stuck in a situation that you feel like you can't get out of. If you have been feeling like, oh, I'm not lovable, or abundance is not coming my way, or I can't see my way out of this situation, or I'm never going to be able to break out of this thing, or it's never going to work out for me, right? Like the Jupiter-Venus transit, especially Jupiter, I've noticed Jupiter it expands things to the point where it's like we're freed. And when we look at this card, she's standing there and it looks like she's all kind of like tied up and she's stuck in this situation, but it's just all mental, right? And actually her hands aren't bound, her eyes are. So it can be saying that we're not aware, we're not able to see so clearly, but that actually the separation, the severance, or some of the things that are going to kind of come up during this particular transit is actually going to show you like there's a lot of room for freedom. There's a lot of room for love and for like emotional healing. I'd be curious to hear what your rising sign is. I'd want to know what house this is happening in. Maybe if Jupiter rules like your 12th house, so if you're like a Capricorn rising, I could see that being a little tricky, or an Aquarius rising, that could be a little tricky. Aries rising, that could be tricky. So if Jupiter rules your 12th house, basically, that could be a little bit more difficult. But this is about breaking out of situations where you have felt stuck and bound, and finally it looks like you're going to get some freedom. And I would say just don't be doubting that something is going to come your way. Oh, Pisces rising. Okay, cool. So I was going to say like for like Jupiter ruled charts or Jupiter 12th house, it could be difficult. So Aries sun, Sag moon. So it's 8th house from your moon. So that means that it's definitely going to be about an emotional purge or like healing. But if you're a Pisces rising, Jupiter and Venus, it depends. If it's in your 4th house, it's going to be home based. So maybe you're feeling like you're breaking emotional home or family or ancestral patterns. If the conjunction, because I think it's around 13 degrees, is in your 5th house, then this is going to be more about romantic opportunities, emotional healing, healing the inner child. Self-love is like another theme in the 5th house. And you know, it's a little shoddy for Pisces risings because you guys have South Node, Mars, and eclipses in your 7th house. So a lot of you guys are like healing or letting go of like long loves, or you're reflecting on separations or breakups you've had. Some of you guys might be having reunions from people from the past. So you're gonna have to look at the cusp of your 5th house. If it's 13 degrees or more, then it's going to be in your 5th. If it's under 13 degrees in your 4th, it's going to be relating to home. But I can tell it's about breaking out of situations where you have felt stuck, and like where you're willing to take a little bit more action when it comes to like personal love and also feeling like good enough and capable, which the 5th house, that's really what that's about. It's going to be about you being in a situation where you know that you're lovable, you know that you're worthy, you're opening up to that, you're learning how to feel your way into that, dating yourself, treating yourself well, nurturing yourself. So that way, if you're feeling that lack of support with the South Node in your 7th, and you don't feel like you have a partner, or you're feeling like you're longing for an old partner, you're going to go, no, I'm giving it to myself. I'm not going to feel like love and support only has to come from relationships and other people. But regardless, it's going to take a year to really fully see what Jupiter in the 5th house is going to bring you. The likelihood is that you are going to find there is going to be more romance. There is going to be more opportunities also for creativity, joy, for children, even for dating. Be open to liberation. I would say that anyway as a Pisces rising, like having South Node eclipses in your 7th is like, you're not going to be as reliant on partners, or they're not going to be as reliable. You may be dealing with partners from the past, or you might be kind of clearing out old relationships, right? And I think that really it's about where joy and personal fulfillment is liberating and not feeling like it has to come through like other people. But you'll get another Venus-Jupiter conjunction next year too. So you'll have it right towards the end of the transit in 2026. So we get like a double dose. Let me know what happens. I'm curious to see what manifests for you. All right. We've got Jessica, Z, Michelle, Stephanie, and then Silk. And Jessica Z says, I am really thinking a lot about moving, but so many family members need me and my help. Hang here in Dallas or bite the bullet and move across the world, or at least travel for a month or two. Well, let's take a look. What's your rising sign? Are you a Sag rising or a Pisces rising? That kind of sounds like Sag or Pisces vibes. Could be an Aries rising with, no, a Capricorn rising with Saturn in your 4th. All right, let's take a look. So first of all, what does it look like with Jessica moving? It sounds like she's got to stay home and be closer to family. She's wondering, like, does she need to stay home? Should she just move? You know, is it maybe going to be about her traveling a little bit? Let's take a look. I have not taken Adrian yet. Well, good news is these are all like really great cards, and it looks like definitely some traveling is on the way. Like traveling might actually be the solution to buy you a little bit of time before ultimately there's a move. So I say that because I'm like eyeballing that Chariot card in the final position, which is about movement, going somewhere. It can be a trip card too, but I think that this is more about like movement. Particularly, I think if there is going to be move, you're looking at like a fire month. More so leaning in the direction of like spring of next year. So it might be a good time to just be a little bit more creative, idealistic, and maybe making time to like go places that feel like are calling you. You know, the Knight of Cups can be talking about falling in love with a place, a person, a space, a city. It could also be through relationships or connections that you have with other people that it's luring you in a different direction, and that there could be some romance kind of tied to the storyline here as well, especially when it comes to like meeting people and, you know, the impact or the influence they might have on you potentially moving to be closer with them or traveling with them. Keep your eyes out for new relationships, especially any water signs, Cancer, Scorpio, or Pisces. Now, the other thing that I think about is that, you know, you're right on the cusp of being a Virgo or a Leo. So from the perspective of like Virgo, you know, there's going to be eclipses that are going on that are going to be obviously impacting you in like relationships. You're also going to see a Mercury retrograde at the end of the year that's going to be in November going into December, which could really shake things up in terms of your home and your family living situation. I say that because the Ace of Wands comes up. So with the Ace of Wands, it means that there is definitely new energy, you know, that is coming. Right now, you can probably buy yourself a little bit of time. You could travel, you could have some fun and experience some places you've never been. Short, quick trips is kind of the vibe that I'm getting, and you might actually be able to do something in the next month just to kind of tie you over. But by the time you're getting to, like, let's say December of 2025 and April of 2026, this is going to be more of a turning point that is seemingly going to point more in the direction of like an actual move. And then finally, the Chariot card comes up, which talks about movement. So if somebody says, am I moving? I'd be like, yes, this is the card. Just traveling is maybe like a knight, which is going to be on a horse, or maybe 2 of Wands, 3 of Wands. But ultimately, it's saying that you've really only got until about spring of next year, and then you're going to be like, okay, I've seen the sights, I've gone some places, you know, I've definitely burned off some steam, but now I have a better idea of where I want to go, and there may be a relationship or a partnership or somebody who is going to be influencing your move. And like, I hear you where you're saying, you know, family needs you and all that stuff, but Ace of Wands tells me that you're getting impatient and you also feel like life is calling you, you know, to go in different directions and to kind of take chances and to be willing to take risks and go after, you know, people, places, and spaces that are going to be more fulfilling and also inspiring for you. You need to explore when you have the Ace of Wands kind of coming up. And yeah, you got to get your ducks in a row with the Chariot. You know, this is a card that you need to remind yourself that if you want to be victorious in moving or relocating, you need to have a plan. And that you need to kind of like be putting that plan in motion through budgeting, you know, persistence, you know, having some kind of planning, control. And also this is about, you'll only make progress in this department if you're determined. And I would say kind of set your sights on closer to next spring as being your actual kind of jump off point. And start letting people know that you're actively either looking to be meeting people in other areas or that you're actually looking in other areas. And if it's not a romantic partnership that's involved, it can be somebody who you're connected to family-wise who's like, yes, I'd consider going with you, you know, or I would visit you if you went, or, you know, we could still go back and forth and see each other. So it's kind of opening the door for other people to support you in actually making this change. Anyway, I hope that this is helpful for you. Good luck, Jessica, with all of the potential move energy that's kind of coming up in the chart. We've got Michelle, Stephanie, Silk, and Tammy. You guys are all on deck. So if you hear your name, your reading is coming up. All right, so we've got Michelle, August 7th, 87, who is a Pisces rising, Leo sun, Capricorn moon. She says, am dead set on finishing my degree at the end of the year. My deadline is the end of December. Will I be able to make it? Well, Tammy, what a great time to be super hyper focused on making sure that you're getting things in order and you're meeting your deadlines. I think as like a Pisces rising, something that's working in your favor is that you are going to see Mars come into Scorpio later in September, okay? And so this is positive because Mars is going to go into your 9th house, which is about higher education, adding passion and stamina. Then as we see Mars continue to go through Scorpio, it's going to trine Saturn. So it's going to give you some sense of commitment and determination, especially with timing. And Neptune, which is helping make your vision a reality. And it's going to trine Jupiter in Cancer, which is more good for like romance and like traveling and creativity, but still good for personal self-fulfillment. So the fact that you have all of this set up to be going down by the end of the year, I think is like really great timing on your part, even though you didn't know that astrologically. The one bit of advice I will give you is that there will be a Mercury retrograde that is going to be starting in mid-November in Sagittarius in your career house. And that is also about responsibility for education, and it's going to retrograde back into Scorpio, which is going to be about finishing deadlines and things revolving around school. So you want to be extra aware by the time you get to the end of October that you need to be getting your ducks in a row, because there can be some rearranging, things that are slowing down or feeling like you're definitely really coming down to the wire. Tarot says Ace of Coins. Yes, you will get what you're hoping to achieve. Yes, you will be able to make it happen. In like a career sense, this is about like getting a new job or a career move or advancement or success in some way. Financially, this can also be talking about like stability or some new opportunity or investment. So basically, my takeaway is if you're putting in the time or the energy, you're focusing on the scheduling now, and you're breaking it down to where you're doing a little bit month by month until you're getting to the fall, you're going to have to crank up the heat a little bit once you're kind of getting to, you know, November and December. Watch for some of those slowdowns. Don't let travel kind of get in the way, or don't let other things get in the way or slip between the cracks that could actually delay things. But I do feel like you are going to be successful at meeting your goal literally by the new year. Good luck. Let me know what happens. Sending you lots of good vibes. All right. Now we're moving on to Stephanie. And then we've got Silk, Tammy, and Adrian. All right. Stephanie says, hi, feeling foggy at the moment, and I need guidance in terms of where I should be heading for the most growth right now. Should I go all in on my music career or still try to pursue the traditional college path? I'm an Aries North node in the 10th house, by the way, and I just want independence and singularity in my career. What's up? All right, so something I think about if you're a Cancer rising is that Saturn and Neptune, which could literally be about getting serious and bringing form and commitment in a professional way to your music, is in the 10th. And, you know, right now with Mars going into Libra pretty soon, there's going to be a high demand with stuff on the home front or things where your family are telling you to focus on your schooling, or there's going to be some home drama that can be kind of cropping up over the next week or so. So don't let that get your goat. But I do think that, you know, Saturn going back into Pisces, so Saturn and Neptune will retrograde back into your 9th. You're going to get an answer sometime around mid-September as to whether or not you need to go back to school. You'll have another opportunity to do that in the spring of next year when Mercury retrogrades there and there's another eclipse. But I feel like, you know, for your particular rising sign, Jupiter's going to be, you know, in the 2nd house next year. You're also going to be seeing Saturn and Neptune in your 10th house. Like, you can actually make money and do it in a performance creative based way. It's going to take a little bit longer. It's going to be a little bit harder. So it's not going to be something that's going to hit immediately. And you're also going to want to watch when there's retrogrades in your 5th house, which will be in November, which could get you back on stage. So I know I'm throwing a lot at you, but that's just something I'm kind of like thinking about, is how everything is working out. You have to look at the whole sign, or the whole chart. So let's pull some cards. Let's see, what does Stephanie need to be doing right now? Should she be going all the way with her music career, or should she be focusing more on what's kind of going on with her college stuff? So if your North Node's in Aries, depending on what degree your North Node is, you have to look at the degree of the North Node, but Saturn's going to be going through there. So there's been eclipses there the last few years. You're also going to have, Saturn going through there and continuing to go through there at the beginning of next year, and Saturn and Neptune are going to meet. My thought is like really spring into summer of 2026 is going to be the time to watch. And I can also say that because this is where the Hierophant kind of talks about April, May of 2026. That's going to be like a turning point. Personally, the cards are reflecting a lot of what you're saying. The Knight of Swords is saying, I want to take kind of swift action. I do want to be kind of jumping into something, giving it my all, being super focused, being committed and diving in. This could mean writing music, traveling, performing, but this could also mean that if you are going to be going to school, you're like, I need to get the show on the road. I need to scramble to kind of get back into my classes and figure out what direction I'm actually going in. So all of these cards, for the most part, they are yeses. But the right now card is saying like now is not the time to make a definitive decision. Like it may actually be like a little bit of both. And that even if you were to kind of put school on back burner, I feel like you're not going to see too much that's going to be kind of popping up in terms of, creative performances or getting anywhere with your music until November, December, and then again spring of next year. So I don't think it's time to make any like rash decisions with the Knight of Swords coming up with the 7 of Cups, because it's like you're feeling like it needs to be one way or the other. And that's not really how this works. Like the 7 of Cups is saying that you're so overwhelmed right now, you don't know what it could be, that if you go in one direction or the other, you're going to be questioning or wondering whether or not you should have gone in the other direction, when in reality it's saying like stay the course of where you're at. If you're currently, going to school and you're like, going through your studies and you're focusing on that, I would say you're going to stay that path, and then you're going to try to find ways to work music in. If you've already walked away from your studies and, this is something that you're not super focused on right now and it's been focused more on music, then you're going to stay that path. You don't want to deviate too much at the moment. September will be a time to watch for getting back into school. February and March will be a time to watch for getting back into school. The Hierophant does come up for you, which can be talking about Saturn in your 9th house, where it's like you need a manager or you need somebody who is going to be representing you, or maybe you're looking at, working with a creative collaborator, or maybe you're going to be working with somebody who can kind of get you seen, that you need some kind of structure. Okay. So if you're going to do the music stuff and you're going to be kind of moving away from schooling, you need structure. Just saying, hey, I'm going to be writing and I'm going to be creating music and putting it out. That's wonderful. Definitely do that. But you need somebody who's going to be supporting you along the way. Remember, Saturn represents your 7th house. So somebody who's like, yes, I am a manager. Yes, I book gigs. Yes, I can introduce you to labels. Yes, I'm also like interested in finding artists that are willing to tour. You could tour and travel with some of those transits with eclipses in the North Node in your 9th house. And it's normal to feel confused about what you want in terms of school and education with the North Node in Pisces, because you're like, I don't really know what I want. As you get into next spring, you'll start seeing new opportunities present yourself in a new way professionally. And I personally feel like Jupiter in Leo next year in your 2nd means you can make money performing. So I'm not going to tell you to stop performing, but I'm going to tell you don't make any serious decisions. Try to see if you can actually do a little bit of both. And if you decide to go back into school, look for those opportunities fall and then the spring of next year. Regardless of what you do, you need some kind of mentorship. So whether it's a manager that's working with you, because that's what the Hierophant is, or if you're going to be considering going and talking to like a career coach, or maybe talking to a college counselor about finding ways where you can actually find like you're getting a degree that's really going to resonate with the kind of work that you're actually wanting to do. With your North Node being in the 10th house, you have to go and look at your natal Mars. Okay, so go and see where your Mars is. If your Mars is in the 5th house, you probably are meant to be a performer. If your Mars is in the 2nd house, you are meant to be an artist. If it's in the 10th house, you are meant to be kind of seen and in the public eye. So the Mars placement is going to tell you a lot of how you're actually going to be achieving kind of focusing, going on a new direction in your career. And I would say Aries, North Node in the 10th house, you got to be like a solo artist, right? You're not going to be doing something that's going to be kind of like, you know, in the background or kind of like working with a group in some way. So hopefully that's helpful in giving you some insight. And certainly these timelines are going to be pretty accurate for when you're going to see stuff changing. Good luck. All right, we've got Silk, Tammy, and Adrian. What's up, Silk? You're welcome. Let's take Exxalta before I forget. So, Silk, give me just 1 second. I'm going to take Exxalta. Thank you for your super chat. Sorry you got banned from PayPal. Exxalta says, I'll slip my question in here. I'm 29 degrees Pisces rising. Oh, I'm 28 degrees Virgo sun. Oh, hello eclipses. Moon at 25 degree Gemini, MC at 29 degrees Sag. So you're getting your butt kicked by Saturn and Neptune. General reading, please. Can't even pick a category, but still studying astro and launching a tarot site soon. Pay attention. Pay close attention. The eclipse that's going to be at the end of September is going to rock your world. 29 degrees eclipses are very critical, okay? It represents a tipping point. And if you've got 29 degrees on all angles, you happen to be somebody who may actually be on your last incarnation. So everything in this lifetime, especially 29 degrees Pisces rising, feels like it's now or never. I have to do all of this. This has to happen, blah, 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 blah. Like this is the last lifetime. So, I think about, you know, the eclipse that's going to be happening at the end of September that is going to be at 29 degrees of Virgo. So as a Pisces rising, you're going to have that eclipse right on your descendant. So it's opening the door to meeting other people. That's a 6-month solid window of meeting new people, bringing in clients. So if you're opening a tarot business, great. But it's also going to mean changes in relationships, karmic relationships, connections with other people. Not only will that be on your descendant, but it's going to oppose your sun, which is in Pisces. And Saturn and Neptune are going to be conjunct your sun. It's going to be conjunct your ascendant again. So Saturn and Neptune are going to retrograde back over those degrees. It's almost like there's a lot of you questioning, like, how much can I give other people? Where are my boundaries? You know, what are my goals? Where am I connecting with people at a distance? And like, psychic boundaries and grounding techniques and all of that stuff is very important, especially if you're going to be working with clients, because you might actually have a wave of clients come in from that eclipse, and it's just going to be make sure that you're not like absorbing and taking on other people's stuff. And then it'll square your MC, which is career changes. It'll square your IC, which is going to be home changes. That's going to be wild. All right, so let's take a look. Let's just see what we can tell you in terms of what is going to be happening with, you know, the changes kind of coming your way. So 1, 2, 3. Positive cards. Knight of Pentacles, the Star card, and the Strength card. So it's really, there's something that's coming up that seems pretty big, probably about this up and coming full moon in Aquarius. Sun in Leo, moon in Aquarius, right? Full moon. So that's coming up here like in the next week or so, I think. So maybe see what's kind of going on in your chart there. So obviously, you know, it's going to be kind of connected, probably more so to your 11th house of goal fulfillment, collective groups, and harmonizing with other people. Promoting your services, connecting with groups online, meeting with friends, finding ways to kind of collaborate with others. Like that seems to be like a huge focus. And I think, you know, obviously you're Pisces rising, but you're almost Aries. So like the retrograde's been in your 5th. How do I create? How do I share it with groups of people, right? Are they going to like what I'm creating and what I'm putting out there? Also, I think about the Knight of Pentacles kind of representing you going through this period where you're going to be a little bit more careful and cautious when it comes to how you're managing money. Maybe that's Saturn and Neptune retrograde in your 2nd. Maybe that's working on your self-esteem. Maybe that means that you're slowly and steadily building something and working towards a goal of something you're hoping to accomplish professionally, right? So you can be bringing in more money. You're seeing that there can be a shift in your self-esteem and also like in your confidence with your work. Support can be coming in from earth signs. So this could be obviously Tauruses, Virgos, or Capricorns. There could be good news coming in regards to money for you as well. And the star card is kind of talking about like, going through a process where you're really changing and transforming and you're healing. There is a sense of you really coming to terms with, these are my goals. If these are things I want to see happen, only I can make it happen, which I think a lot of Pisces risings are realizing right now. And the star card is basically saying that, you have been healing any doubts or any insecurities revolving around what you can do, that you have a lot of hope and that you're feeling inspired, and that there is a sense of you really feeling like, okay, there is a positive shift that's happening. There's a renewal that's happening and you have faith for what's coming in. Obviously, Aquarius is your 12th house if you're a Pisces rising. So it's a lot of doubts and insecurities about the future. Maybe it's dreams that you're having, visual things that you're seeing, but you're like, how is this going to like manifest and be real? It can also mean that in order for you to really shine, you're trying to kind of pinpoint and figure out who is your market, who is your audience, who are you talking to, right? That's like the axis between like the 5th and the 11th. And then the final card you get is the Strength card. So this is a positive card because it means that you're letting love win. You're letting everything come to you. You're not trying to like manhandle things and make things happen. You're more focused on the end result and you're letting the universe kind of intervene. This can mean in a career sense that there is like this inner strength and resilience that's coming through, and that you're actually managing to make changes in your career by really kind of tapping into your inner creative and finding ways to kind of be in tune with that and express yourself in a unique way. Certainly August and February are going to be really big months. So you're looking at like over the next 6 months that there is going to be a building phase. I actually I love the fact that you're having eclipses on your descendant, and that's a good time to be like, I'm open for business. I have a website, I'm taking clients. You may just want to be really kind of cautious and careful just how much access they have to you with the Saturn-Neptune opposition. And also like feeling like you can do those readings like discreetly or digitally or at a distance in some way, so you're not getting drained. And then you can wait until you get to like November going into December, and that can be your reevaluation point for what changes you've made with your career and like whether or not it's feeling good, and if you want to kind of make a shift or a change, maybe completing some kind of training or like certification. Certainly you could give it until the fall if you feel like you need more time for training before you're giving readings. But this is about just being in tune and being open to kind of what is coming in for you right now, and really feeling like more creatively inclined. I think that seems to be like the huge focus. So yeah, kind of complex when you have Saturn and Neptune on an angle because it squares everything else. But I feel like your gut is going to tell you when it's time to take clients and when it's time to actually move forward. So you'll have to let me know what happens with that eclipse. Usually you end up meeting somebody pretty prominent within 6 months of an eclipse like that. So you have to let me know what happens. All right, we got Silk, Tammy, Adrian, and Heather. What's up, Silk? You're welcome. Silk says, hey Candace, I feel a big change coming, but I don't know what it is. I swear, if I had $1 for every time I heard that in the last month, I would not be doing readings on the internet for money. I feel a big change is coming, but I don't know what it is. I went through 3 friendship breakups and decided to get off of social media for good. Well, you know they come in threes, girl. I finally got over my ex. Congratulations. My goodness, and my question is, what is the universe telling me? Is some positive changes coming? I'm a Capricorn rising. Well, sounds like you got the swift ass kicking before Mars went into Libra. I was just doing my horoscopes for the week, and I was talking about the Mars going into Libra for Capricorn risings. And I'm like, if I ever saw a Saturn aspect, it's what's coming this week. Let's break it down. Jupiter's in your 7th house of relationships. So that can bring you new relationships of all kinds, right? So romantic relationships, better family relationships, blah, blah, blah. But Jupiter rules your 12th house. So it's actually showing you things about other people you didn't know. And that could be like, oh, I didn't know that about you moments where they have like a quirky kind of like, like bar trick. But it can also be you're seeing the other side of people that is not so pleasant. And you're realizing like, this ain't working for me. Recently, Jupiter has been in a square with Saturn and Neptune in your 4th house, which means there's been some emotions and feelings coming up where you're kind of like going, do they not see what I'm going through? Do they not, see me when I'm in need? Are they not considering my feelings? Like, is it easier to be alone than to kind of connect with people who might not necessarily be fulfilling? And that Jupiter square represents the pop. Now, the 4th house is the ends of situation. So Saturn represents you, and it's in the house of home and family, but it also represents your third house of communication. So there can be some stuff kind of going on here as Saturn and Neptune are kind of retrograding back into Pisces, where you're like, there are some people I don't care to talk to anymore. There are some people I don't care to go back and forth with anymore. I don't want to answer their calls, you know, and P.S. I'm getting off social media. That's Saturn and Neptune retrograding back to your third. But Libra is relationships. Fourth house is the past. Mars is conflict. So maybe you have felt this energy early as Mars is going into your fourth house, where there can still be some family drama. It's going into your 10th house, but it's opposing Saturn in your fourth house, so there can still be some family drama, basically, is what's going on. And there's a lot of focusing on who you're becoming out in the world versus who you've been in the past, and maybe not being as passive. I think that's the other way that I would interpret this. So let's see. What's going on? What do you need to know about these changes? And what is the deal with the universe? What are they trying to tell you with these friendship breakups? Wow, 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 wow. There's a star card again. I guess that's the card of the evening. Three of Coins. What has and has not been working in the past? Maybe in the past you've been like, hey, I've been super attached to these people. You know, we've been a trio, or maybe we've been really, you know, good best friends, or everything has been kind of working together. But like, I could see this as a turning point where you're really asking yourself, like, are we really friends, or are we just going through the motions? Because there can be something that feels very transactional about the pentacles. Like, you know, they show up, they're there, but it's like, it's kind of cold and sometimes detached. The positive thing is that this does talk about like collaborations and teamwork. So in the past, maybe everything was driving, things were good, but you know, the star card is saying things have changed. You know, your goals have changed. You're also kind of leveling up when it comes to what you're wanting in, you know, like relationships in general, platonic as well as romantic. And that there is like a sense of you needing to have faith and know that this is a renewal phase, right? This is traditionally the card that comes after the tower falls, right? Because it represents healing. So with the star card coming up, it's saying like, man, you know, right now I'm trying to have faith. I know that, you know, it's time for me to heal and there's something going on that I'm working my way through, but why? Well, there's going to be some renewal, and maybe it means that you guys are not on the same level right now. They might be going through some stuff that's going to bring your vibe down. You might be going through some stuff that you really can't kind of be around. Like there's something that's not connecting vibrationally. That's the feeling that I'm getting. So even if you worked out in the past, not so much now. This is common. This is Pluto and Aquarius stuff, guys, right? Like Aquarius deals with the star card. And so in order for us all to evolve together individually, we have to be also more aware, and we have to be doing our own work. And I feel like with this card coming up right now, it's a time to be really nurturing and healing yourself, because the truth is like, it's done. Like if this were a breakup, I'd be like, treat it as a breakup, because one of two things is going to happen. Either they ain't coming back, or if they are coming back, it has to be a completely different dynamic and you guys have to start over from ground zero. So how I want you to approach this, even though it's difficult, is I want you to be like, these relationships are done. It's not easy. It's hard. The death card, it's hard. It reminds you that there is no going back, and that whatever has happened, it is definitive. And this is also about transformation, which can be painful. It's also about regeneration of energy. So you might find that new friends are coming in, or that you're kind of calling your power back to yourself, or you're feeling like a little bit more, you know, like, wow, okay, I feel a little bit more vibrant, or maybe I don't feel like I'm being drained so much by some of these people. And it's really disappointing to lose them, but by the same token, I kind of feel like I'm better without them. What's going on? And that you're really going to feel this energy probably the strongest between now and November. I'm not really seeing a lot of reconciliation energy, although I do feel like the Three of Coins is saying you can work things out as long as you're really acutely aware of what's going to work for you. And the more work you're doing on yourself, the less, I think, crap you're going to take in like a relationship or in a friendship. You're not going to be willing to kind of go back. So you will have changed as well. So if you guys do kind of come back together and try to squash this, my perspective is like, you can go, look, I'm always open to, you know, having relationships, but I want relationships with people who I'm going to be resonating with, and that's going to be good for me. And I don't want to fall back into the same patterns. I don't want to rehash the past. So you have to treat this like it's actually done, because if they come back, you guys have to start over. And a lot of it's going to be about you kind of showing yourself in a different way. And I do feel like if this goes past about October or November and you haven't had any communication or connection with them, you're going to look at it and you're going to be like, I don't even care to talk to them anymore. It's done. You know, they had their window, they had their opportunity, they kind of failed, moving on. And that's the long and short of it. So My childhood best friends, I'm trying to make new, healthier friendships good, and I don't want them to come back, honestly. Well, then there you go, you know? It's kind of a bummer. I mean, I had some similar transits a couple years ago, and like you, lost 3 people, boom, boom, boom. It was like right before I got married. It was like my childhood best friend. It was like my other best friend of a long time, and somebody who was my best friend in high school. That sucks to have all those people kind of dip out all at the same time, but I think that it comes in 3s, and if you're open to the idea of like bringing in people who are going to be better for you, I think that that's the best way to go. And sorry to hear that you're going through it, but welcome to eclipse season. That is the way the cookie crumbles right now. Just make sure that you're taking really good care of yourself and staying in alignment with your goals. All right, let's see. I know we got a couple more people, so thank you guys for your patience. And if you guys haven't already liked the stream, please give me a thumbs up, like the stream. Make sure you're subscribed. We're here every Friday. Next week's going to be astrology. All right, so who is next? That was Miss Silk. So we got Tammy, Adrian, and Heather. And I know Tammy sent her reading up here, so I'm going to scroll back up here. Let me see if I can find her. There we go. I'm thinking about moving back to my mom's. Is this the right move? So you're a Capricorn, born in 68. Hi, Tammy. I don't know your rising sign, but I can tell you this seems to be definitely the theme for my Capricorns. Do you know your rising, your sun, and your moon? Capricorn sun. So let's ask the cards, does it make sense for Tammy to be moving back home? Double Capricorn, Cancer, Moon. Wow, 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 wow. Well, the good news is Jupiter going into your 7th house, hitting your moon, is bringing an opportunity for you to not only like meet somebody this year, but like somebody who's opening their home to you, right? That's the moon. So the relationship with the mother can improve. The challenge is that it's opposing your sun and also, your ascendant, where you're feeling like out of control. And Saturn is actually retrograde in your 4th house right now, Tammy. That's your chart ruler. So a lot of people go back home, move back home. They go back to their hometown. They see their parents. They kind of deal with the past when Saturn is retrograde, or just going through the 4th house in general. So there is a good likelihood that between those 2 transits, you could be going back. Whether or not you should, well, the cards are saying it's a positive move, right? Having a Cancer moon, there's always a place to go back to. And I feel like for you, there's much more of an emphasis on, but could it be a relationship? Could it be a partner? Could I meet somebody romantically? But you're going to kind of feel like that's getting stifled a little bit with Saturn being in your 4th house. So you got a couple of weeks here that Saturn and Neptune are in the 4th. Whether you decide that you want to move back, sometime this summer or right around the full moon in Aries, you want to watch for that, which is going to be in Libra season. Another time could be right around February of next year when Saturn and Neptune meet in the 4th house of home. But 2 of Cups is saying, look, first of all, you're welcome to go there. It looks like moving back with mom isn't going to be a bad thing. She would either offer for you to come, she would want you to be there, or you're going to feel like you're just having this homecoming. But this is also about relationships. And so what's interesting is like Jupiter being in your 7th means that if you actually do move, because Jupiter is squaring Saturn, getting out of where you've been living, getting out of your routine, and maybe going and spending some time in another place, it might enhance your relationships. So getting the money up also is like a good thing. I think that can be really positive for many of you guys. And, honestly, Jupiter's going to go into Leo next year. So you're definitely going to have more money coming in next year as well. Although some of that can be, joint income with a partner. You could win something. You could get a bonus. You could have an inheritance or, something like that. And a lot of my Capricorn risings have gone home, with Saturn, Neptune, and Aries. It's like you have this dream of buying a house, owning your own space, doing something. And in order to do that, you're like, I got to go back home and be with mom for a little bit. So why not? If you've got a Cancer moon, she's definitely going to take good care of you. And the 2 of Cups means that it might be beneficial, not just with your relationship with your mom and your finances, but you might also meet somebody because you end up switching homes. Hopefully that's helpful for you, Tammy. You can do it. You can definitely do it. Let me know what happens. I've got Adrian, Heather, and then we've got Briana. April, I apologize. It looks like your money is still pending. So I will see if I can either cancel that or you can cancel that. If you don't cancel it, then I'll see if I can refund it. But if I haven't actually had the payment, I don't think I can refund it on my end. So you can cancel it if you want to do that. And if it comes back to me, I'll send it to you. All right, good luck, Tammy. All right, so we got Adrian. Adrian says, will I make my dreams earlier or later in life? Let's see. Capricorn, Sun and Moon, Aries rising, Sag, North Node, Gemini. Adrian's my full name. Xavier. All right, cool. So let's take a look. So it sounds like you're Capricorn, Sun, Aries rising. And let's see what we can tell you about your question. Making your dreams earlier or later in life. I always laugh when I see like an Aries rising Capricorn Sun placement, because obviously Capricorn deals with like your legacy and what you leave and like older age and, you know, what your career ends up manifesting as and all that stuff. With Pluto in your 11th house right now, that's definitely like a huge focus. Like my dreams, my goals, what's going to happen. Look, success comes for all 10th house placements. In particular, if you've got a Capricorn Sun, that's definitely going to be something that's going to happen, but that comes with age. I think what's really interesting is that the Lovers card comes up right now, which is like a really simple way of kind of saying like the road is going to be long and it's going to be winding, and you're going to be given lots of choices and options, and there's going to be decisions along the way for you to decide if you're going to take the long way or the short way. And the long way might actually be something that is going to be exciting. Yeah, you might sometimes have, you know, a little bit of kind of being taken off the path or exploring or feeling like you're kind of losing yourself a little bit only to come back. And like really it's going to be about the journey. And the love also, the Lovers also talks about what you love, that what you're seeking is something that you're passionate about, something that you enjoy doing. So I see that you're saying that, you're making content in art and music. Great. You know, as a Aries rising right now, Saturn and Neptune's in your sign. So you're going to feel like the next like 2.5 years are all about making your dreams a reality. I think that where you're going to see the most success is the sextiles to Uranus and Gemini, and this represents Gemini. So it's about really getting into new technology, new media, new platforms, new social media platforms, finding ways to maybe kind of branch out and differentiate yourself as an artist and kind of get into a couple of different like industries within that, that you're going to kind of maybe feel like you're throwing spaghetti at a wall to see what sticks, but you're going to find that, hey, you're actually good at making music a couple of different ways, and there's several different avenues to get it out. The other thing I think about is the sextile to Pluto in Aquarius, where this is about finding your audience, finding your people, getting recognition, and like collaborating with like-minded friends. So the more that you're focusing on socializing and networking, the more that you're also keeping an open mind, the more that you're going to see the success is going to kind of come through. And I love that the sun rules your 5th house. It's in the 10th. That means that you can be very business savvy when it comes to your career while also kind of creating and like working. And I think you're going to find that really it's the next 2 years that's going to be like a building block for you, because Jupiter will be in your 5th house of creativity next year. Then it'll go into your 6th house of work and trine your sun. Right now, it's more about what's going on with you emotionally, where you're living, what's happening with your home base, figuring all of that stuff out so you can get into a comfy, cozy kind of situation where you feel like you can create. Go and look at your natal Saturn, where your natal Saturn is placed. That's going to give you some more insight, but I've never met a 10th house Capricorn sun that wasn't like exceptional at what they do, and they always kind of get their moment in the sun, especially somewhere around age 21, 33, 45. These are the years where you're going to be seeing that some stuff is really going to kind of hit and you're going to have a breakthrough. Just enjoy what you're doing along the way. Don't lose track of actually being in the moment and being able to kind of explore different avenues when it comes to your creativity. Hopefully that's helpful for you. I got Heather. What's up, Heather? Heather says, hey, I love your channel. Well, thank you. I need some direction, advice on how to navigate the craziness. I'm a Scorpio rising, Capricorn sun, Libra moon. All right. So you have got your sun in the 3rd household sign, your moon in the 12th household sign. I think about the craziness recently. A lot of that's kind of tied to the Mercury retrograde in your 10th. So it's a lot of like going back and forth with work, you know, like what's happening with career? Am I going back to something? Am I shifting out of something? What's working? What's not working? And that has been faintly familiar to the recent Mars retrograde that you had, where there was also similar kind of wonkiness going on in your like professional life. Both the Mars retrograde and the Mercury retrograde opposed Pluto. And I think that's been particularly difficult for Scorpio risings because there's a lot of like where home and career stuff is kind of at odds. So there has been some tension there. The other thing that I think about is like as a Capricorn sun, you know, Saturn is now 4 signs away from your sun. So as a Scorpio, it's in your 6th of health, habits, routine, dealing with coworkers, taking care of your health, staying on task, making it really difficult maybe mentally like focusing and being able to communicate. But a lot of Capricorns are feeling like it's really difficult for them to feel like they can get anything done on the home front. So you might be feeling all of these things basically is what I'm getting at. Let's take a look and see what the cards are saying that you need to kind of like really focus on right now as you're going through all of this craziness. I get these cards. So we have the Knight of Wands, the Page of Pentacles, and the Temperance card. All right, so there's like a cast of characters here. So this can mean that there's a fire sign and an earth sign that's in the mix. Obviously, you're a Capricorn sun, so it can be addressing you personally. I kind of feel like the Knight of Wands coming up is saying like now is really the time to kind of really reassess like where and how you're taking action. He can be a little heated. Like the Knight of Wands is somebody who gets like an idea or like, you know, just like out of the blue decides like they're going to go off on something. They're going to go off on a tangent, or, you know, they're going to rush into a situation, or they're going to kind of try to see if they can sneak some travel in or try to do something quickly. Courageous, brave, creative, sure, yeah, all of these things. But it can also mean that it's kind of cautioning you and saying like pump the brakes a little bit. Not everything has to be done at one time. Perhaps Saturn and Neptune is teaching you that like getting it all done too quickly isn't necessarily the best way to go, and that you have to kind of take your time when it comes to making changes with work, health, or your career. Fire signs can help, so there can be Leos, Aries, or Sagittariuses that are kind of popping in. And obviously this is a card in a career sense that's about ambition and determination, okay? Over the next week, Mars will go into your 12th, and it is your chart ruler, and it's going to oppose Saturn and Neptune. So if you've been burning the candle at both ends, if you've been working too much, you haven't been taking care of your health, you're going to feel it. There can also be some relational issues that can come up. Watch for tempers that might flare in relationships or at work. Career cards, the Page of Pentacles. So this could be talking about you as an earth sign. This can also be saying there's good money news coming, or that you're kind of investing in long-term changes when it comes to your work, health, or your career. And really the focus here is on like either, you know, new jobs, it can be new habits. It can also be that you're working with a new company, or that there is like some new investment that you're making. And also like learning. Pages are about learning. So you're learning how to do something different or do something new. Saturn and Neptune are go back in your 9th house. So some of you guys might be doing training. Some of you guys might be reviewing things that you have studied or that you have learned in the past. And this can also mean that you're really investing more in like long-term gain, especially like in a financial sense. So you're looking for work changes that are going to be beneficial for you in the long run. But still, new financial opportunities are on the horizon. You're kind of seeding that now. And then the final card that you get is the Temperance card, which obviously this is a card that's connected to Sag season. So, you know, in November, December, that's when we get into Sag season. We'll have a Mercury retrograde. That's going to be actually in your money house, going back into your 1st house, where there's a lot of reassessment of your finances. So keep that in mind when it comes to budgeting this year. But the Temperance card is saying like, you know, it's actually teaching you, you know, to pace yourself, to take your time, to focus on healing, to not rush everything, to rather than spreading yourself thin, trying to do too many things at once, to invest in things that are going to be good for the long term, to really focus and also really to prioritize your financial health and your physical health. The Temperance card is literally about balancing, pacing yourself, prioritizing. This is also about focusing on tranquility, harmony, and serenity. So I can't think of a better time than when Mars is going into your 12th house to be like, I need more rest, I need more recuperation, I need some time away, I need to be seeing a therapist, going to a spa, getting a massage, like all of those things are going to be kind of popping up for you. And this can be nice to kind of balance out some of that heavy Saturn Neptune energy that you have in your work house, and also Mercury retrograde in your 10th. I think I would cut myself a little bit of slack, start thinking about what some of your long-term goals are with what you're hoping to accomplish. And maybe really prioritize fun and creativity as you're getting into the fall when you're having eclipses in your 5th house, right? Hopefully that's helpful for you. Let me know how that hits for you. Heather, definitely a lot going on if you've got Libra and Capricorn energy. So the next month is going to be quite active. And we've got Briana. What's up, Briana? You're welcome. Briana says, hi there. I have family court on the 18th. Will my reunification wishes be granted? What changes can I expect from this upcoming court date? And in general, what dates should I look out for? Baby daddy is supposed to be going back to jail and his family is overly possessive with my kids. Thanks in advance. Yikes, yikes, yikes. Let's see, Libra rising, and you got a Cancer moon and an Aries sun. So your chart is getting just like lit up like a Christmas tree. Well, at least the Mars-Saturn opposition is going to be after the 18th. I guess that's like the silver lining. So things can be a little difficult in terms of like diplomacy at the beginning of the month, really until the mid-month. But I know around the 13th, I want to say, Jupiter's going to conjunct Venus. So that could actually be getting really good legal advice. That could also mean that things are looking a little bit more positive for communication, visitation, and like having some kind of control over kids. Specifically on the 18th, just going to look at that day. Moon is in Cancer and it's also conjunct Jupiter. So that's actually really fortuitous for you, the 18th through the 20th, in regards to any parental rights, because the moon will hit an Exalta Jupiter, law, legality, and then it's going to hit Venus. So that's looking pretty positive. In terms of your partners, like Mars going into Libra means you're going to feel more like assertive when it comes to taking action and like being there to help support your kids, especially Saturn Neptune is like other people who are like going to jail. So the irony of that transit is just like wild. So you may really have a case that's being built that's like, yeah, okay, so, you know, the family's protective, but like, you know, I'm here and I'm the one who wants to be able to, you know, like kind of take care of these kids. Only thing I'm worried about is weed coming up in a drug test. Girl. All right, so we've got Four of Swords, the Fool card, and the Hangman. Neptune represents your 6th house of health and habits, right? It also represents alcohol and drugs. And when Mars is coming into an opposition with Saturn and Neptune, I would just really hope that there is not a requested drug test or anything like that around that time, because it will not bode well for you. Four of Swords, the Fool card, and the Hangman. It's interesting because it's almost kind of like alluding to the fact that there is reason to believe that both of you guys may have some strikes against you, you know, for behavior. And whether that's he's going to jail, you know, you've had issues with the drug test, whatever. I'm not here to judge you, but the Fool card talks about making mistakes and like being foolish and kind of youthful. And then you've got the Hangman, which is talking about things that you're doing behind the scenes. Like very, very, very important over the next month to keep your nose clean. Because Jupiter's going to hit Venus, you could actually be awarded, you know, having your kids back and spending time with them, and it could be very good for you. But I think some of the oppositions that you're going to see, like Saturn and Neptune in opposition to Mars in your sign, or like in September, you know, when you're going to have Mars in your sign square Jupiter, other people are going to kind of call you and you're going to be in the spotlight, all right? Four of Swords means that you've been kind of waiting around to see what's going to happen, and you have been waiting, but you haven't really been able to do anything. So there's been a sense of just waiting, holding out, you know, resting, recuperating, preparing to get back and ready to get into court. This also means that you've been kind of contemplating and kind of, you know, thinking about which direction this can go in. Current card is the Fool card, which basically means that, you know, when it comes to direction with responsibility, it means that there's going to be new opportunities, and it's going to be like kind of pushing your limits, and it's going to be like testing you. So I could see this as a situation that's like, look, you know, dad's going to jail. We're going to let the kids go and be with you. This is going to be on like a basis where it's going to be a trial. So I don't think it's going to be a full slam dunk where they're just going to let the kids go back with you. I think it's going to be like you're going to be subject to, you know, an attorney checking in with the kids or checking back in with family services. There could also be some kind of family therapy. Like it's going to come with a catch. So if you do end up getting them, you know, all eyes are going to be on you, and like they're going to be watching you like a hawk. Because I do feel like with the Fool card, there are people waiting for you to slip up. There are people waiting for you to make a mistake, or for a reason for them to be like, well, this is why we didn't want the kids going with her. So I'm not saying this to be critical. I'm just telling you, you have to really, really, really be aware and be on your toes, because people are going to be watching. And it's about whether or not we're going to repeat some of the same patterns that you've repeated in the past. Then you get the Hangman card, which basically means that, you know, you are going to see a period of time where you're like, okay, you know, I have to make the necessary sacrifices, or I have to be willing to kind of negotiate, even though maybe there has been a lack of uncertainty or a lack of direction with what's been going on with the court case, that you're willing to make the necessary sacrifices, and that you're going to be very transparent and very honest with them. So if something does come up, let's say there is a drug test or whatever, it's like, well, yeah, but, you know, like if it happens to be legal in the state that you're in, technically they can't hold that against you, I would assume. The other thing is the Hangman is really talking about like not counting your chickens before they hatch, like not celebrating anything before you actually get the win. You know, Mars is going to be going into Libra, so you're going to be feeling very incentivized for balance and fairness, but you kind of have to pump the brakes and like be mindful that people are going to try to get your goat, whether it's him or his family. Don't engage. Mars is going to try and Pluto in your 5th house, which means you're going to be really serious about your kids and like wanting to take action with children. Both of these planets are going to trine Uranus in the 9th house of law and legality. So it almost looks like you may get the kids, and then once you get the kids, you're like, okay, well now we have to go there and get them, or now we're going to be traveling with them, or now we're going to be going somewhere so we can kind of celebrate this reunion and you can have fun. But until you get that definitive answer that's like, yes, we're going to let them stay with you, which I don't think is going to come to a later date. I think it's going to be, like I said, on a case-by-case basis, and they're going to see how it goes before they decide definitively if they're going to let them stay. So take that trial basis seriously. Be willing to, you know, just kind of own where there's been some mistakes in the past. Be vocal about that so they can see that you're aware and that you're remorseful and that things have changed and that you really want to kind of step up to the plate. And honestly, you don't really need to smear him. I think he's going to do it for himself. You know, Saturn and Neptune in your 7th means he is going to jail. That's already kind of showing lack of accountability. And if it's coming down to being with family or being with a parent, I think you're going to definitely fare very well with the Venus-Jupiter conjunction. It could be a really good court decision on your part, right? Hopefully that's helpful. Come back, give me some feedback. I'd love to hear that, you know, things go really well for you, because I know that this has been like a really kind of long-standing back and forth issue. So I'm sending you lots of good vibes. All right, so with that being said, thank you guys so much for watching, for liking, commenting, and sharing. Make sure you subscribe, hit that bell button below. I'm here every Friday. Next week will be astrology. You can catch me here at 6 o'clock p.m. Central. That's going to be 4 p.m. on the Pacific Coast and 7 p.m. on the Eastern Coast. I teach astrology. I also teach tarot, and if you guys would like to check that out, or maybe you would like to get a personal reading with me, click the links below at beyondtheveiltarot.com. While you're there, sign up for my newsletter and check out my courses. I will be back on Sunday. We're going to talk all things Mars and Libra with the astro weather, and definitely subscribe, because we're going to have all kinds of new stuff on the channel over the next month. Lots of new content, more tarot content. So if you guys like that, make sure you're subscribed. Otherwise, I hope you enjoy the rest of your weekend, and I will catch you guys here very soon. Take care.